What is up, everybody? That is loud sound. Let me just twink that a bit. Okay, that should be better. Alright, well, might do the challenge quest some more later, but I kind of want to just blast through Oceanus and London here. I was gonna make a video for the Demon Pillar, but I don't give a fuck, so we're just gonna get through this, and I want to get to Camelot, right? Because in case they ever do update Gwen's animations or Lantoria's animations, I want to make a video against them. And while we're waiting around, we can have Gwen just so we can, you know, test shit there, which that'll be a fun one, especially if neutral. Boy, that'll be spicy. But let's do Ricky Boy versus the Pillar. See how he does. That is not a good Ricky. Why? That's because it's Zerp's ult, isn't it? That would be why. I was supposed to say it's Grailed, but it's 949. But yeah, level 127 account makes more sense now. Let's try. We'll try a regular Ricky. We'll do level 70 Ricky. Beat the challenge quest earlier with Darius set up, so that was kind of cool. You know, Darius is pretty good. I've noticed this. There's just been a lot of challenge quests lately that, you know, if you want to, you can definitely make Darius work where, and you don't need, like, super fancy supports or anything. It's quite nice. Messed around with Hector a little bit, too. I couldn't make anything work, but I didn't try that much. But, he wasn't too bad. I could see Hector working if you did, like, Hector and Ku, or, I mean, maybe even Gareth or something, right? Like, just some kind of single-target Lancer, so yeah, because Hector does pretty good damage, and then he'll buff his teammate, so if you have Hector clear out the mobs, so then have someone else punch Moriarty in the face, it's not too bad. Actually, I would completely disagree. The whole point of RDPs is not to refund their own NP. It's not at all. DW never intended that. It's an accident, and I'm sure they regret it immensely. There's a reason it wasn't a commonplace thing until, you know, more recently when there's a lot more art up and NP gain up and that kind of thing. Like, why do you think? Because they didn't. Quick reminder: with Kurtsugu and 100 Face, right? They were made a long time ago. They kind of reflect what DW1 intended. They lowered their NP gain on their NPs without telling anybody. It's not like they ever announced that. And if you asked them about it at a convention, they would deny it or some shit, right? They don't answer questions about under the hood stuff, right? They want you to just like, oh yeah, you know, just go along like a dumb idiot and see what happens, right? They didn't want things refunding their NPs on their own NPs, and they took steps to try to prevent that. Obviously, he failed miserably, but it's definitely not the point of art NPs. Of course NP looping is an accident. Like, of course it's an accident. If it was on purpose, they wouldn't have lowered the gain rate on NPs for a lot of units back in the day. Like, you know, now they accept it because they can't do anything about it, but they're not happy about it. And why do you think they add so many gimmicks to boss fights to try to prevent it? Like, they jump through so many hoops to try to stop the meta right now because the meta is not what they intended. I mean, of course it's not what they intended. Wow, I used my NP, the thing I'm supposed to build up to and supposed to be about my big dramatic super move, and I just used it, and by using it, I got it back, right? Of course that's not intended. Like, and again, there's nothing they can do about it now, so they're kind of just rolling with the punches, but, you know, Scatty, when they added Scatty, they did not, there's no way, they were like, yeah, when we do this, we're totally gonna allow Edmund to just NP over and over and over again. Like, no, of course they didn't think that. And again, it's kind of obvious because in the very early days of Fgo, before you had supports like Scatty and Castoria and such, they tried to, under the hood, prevent those things from happening, right? Like, and they hid it from the players, right? Because they didn't want them to realize, but yeah, they definitely never wanted this to be the way that it is. But now that it is this way, you know, they're not gonna do that much, because if they like nerfed Castor, Toria, and Scatty, or just NP gain on NPs or whatever, they make everyone mad. So I mean, they're not going to do anything about it now. And hell, you know, Mordred. Remember when they added Rider Mordred? I think, you know, it's totally possible that the reason her NP gain rate was just so bad was because they were worried about, you know, people being a blue. What is going on right now? What is? Oh yeah, this is that account. We don't have shit. And they obviously overdid it because they made it where her NP basically didn't work, or her NP gain didn't work like, at all. But I don't know. I'm in two minds about Mordred. It's either they were really scared of, oh god, this unit is art and hits 3 targets because it's AoE. They were either scared about that or it was a mistake. Because her gain rate was so bad, I think it is totally possible that it was a mistake. And yeah, they add a lot of units ever since Scatty got added. When they add AoE quick units to give them bad gain rates to try to compensate and stuff. And they've added a lot of bosses that have like NP drain at the start and things like that. And they've just done weird things like with this Moriarty challenge quest to try to, you know, mess with that kind of thing. Alright, let's see how level 70 Ricky Boy does. Do I cast his first skill right now? I like this opening hand, right? This is swell. I may be in for a bad time. Don't worry guys, Qingong's gonna make stars for us. I think the meta in Fgo is so bad right now. It's so bad for the game on so many levels. Boring, bad for boss design. You know, trivial. It makes a lot of stuff that's interesting meaningless, and so no one uses it anymore or cares about it. Like it's not good. I mean, Kastoria is just an answer to Scatty. You know, it's because of Scatty they kind of already unleashed Pandora's box, so. And so now, you know, they'll probably make something for Buster at some point to help them loop. Just so that they, you know, like at this point, can't beat him, join him. So as long as he kills this guy in a second here, we'll be fine. Their damage output though is really high, and they can kill Ricky Boy very quickly. But once the big boy's dead, it's nothing. Hey Arjuna. Imagine running around on a ship on a horse. Happened before, by the way. I was talking about this just a minute ago on our Discord, but it's kind of applicable to Fgo as well, because Fgo is a single-player game and not everyone has access to the same things, and you know, such a huge draw of it is just the characters and who you like and trying to make them work and, you know, enjoying the different types of gameplay. But people will just, because they're dumb fucking monkeys, you know, they'll over-optimize all the fun out of a game no matter what. Like, literally no matter what. Right, even though it's a single-player game and the draw is the characters and the different, you know, gameplay styles and everything, you know, because like in Genshin Impact, they're over there optimizing like 2% damage on a fucking slime, like that matters. Somehow, for the most part, you know, Devil May Cry has avoided that. But it's just, imagine in a Devil May Cry video, someone posts like a fancy combo video, and someone's like, that's not the optimal combo to kill the boss with, right? Because you know somebody, you know, is gonna think that way. And, you know, it makes sense in some context, right? If you're playing a fighting game, you're trying to be trying to beat your opponent. It's all about beating the opponent, so playing your character in the best way possible and all that is really important. But when it comes to a lot of single-player games, it's irrelevant. It's like in Genshin Impact, it is so people really act like this. They try to justify this insane insane, over-the-top, over-optimization machine that just like takes all the fun out of the game. They try to justify it with, but the Abyss mode, like the Abyss mode is so hard that you have to be meta to do it. Meanwhile, you got people over there doing it with fucking Amber. It's like, it doesn't matter, right? And it's the same thing in Fgo. It's like, I've never seen any content in Fgo, that required you to be all like double Castoria, you know, art DPS, you know, top of the line CEs, MLBK. I've not once. Like, sure, if you want to beat those bosses at the fastest way humanly possible, it'll require those things. But even like Gramps, for God's sakes, you know, you needed some rarer stuff, sure, but you didn't need anything like that. You didn't need that fucking meta. Like, Jesus Christ. And most people can't. That's the thing. Most people can't be meta in this game. Like, if you play a fighting game, right, it's not like your character, you have to grind to unlock their combos, right? It doesn't work that way. You don't have to, you don't spend extra money to unlock a combo. You know, when you play a character, that's just the character, and you figure out the most efficient way to play them, and anyone playing that character has access to the exact same thing. That's not the state of, you know, a lot of Gacha style games and stuff like that. You know, it's funny, if you don't like Wadim's NP, right, and you didn't want to like watch that, then just don't use him, right? And you're literally no worse off than you are before, right? Right. Let's say Wadim was meta, right? Let's say Wadim was meta, right? And he's like the new meta-defining unit for some reason, okay? It's not like using the previous meta is gonna like what's the big deal? Like, literally, what's the difference between that versus, you know, just not using him, right? As opposed to him not being added. You're doing the same thing, right? But it feels like I'm missing out, right? Like that's stupid, dude. Dude, I'm glad to hear someone's generic. I'm glad someone like is teaching that, because a lot of game developers talk about this all the time. Like, that you literally have to it's so dumb. This is so dumb, but it's a complete reality of the game industry. You have to design the game in a way to force the players to have fun, because they won't otherwise. I mean, some people will, but a lot of people won't. Most people are just, they will just, to such an absurd degree, try to optimize all the fun out of the game. No matter what the game is, they will always do that. It's absolutely insane. They will always take the path of least resistance, which will make things feel a lot less rewarding for them. All kinds of stuff. So you basically have to design the game in a way to trick players into having fun, and to like a lot of reward structures try to incentivize people to do the content that the devs think is fun, just so they will do it, right? Like, which is that's so insane, right? Like, the fact that that's the state we're in right now is just mind blowing to me. And, you know, it's not all people. You know, some people know what they enjoy and what they don't, and they don't really need incentives to do it. But I think people are kind of getting conditioned to it at this point, right? Because, you know, social media and, you know, gaming in general has spread so much, and people are getting exposed to it at younger ages, and developers have gotten more optimal at, like, finding weaknesses in the human brain to exploit, right? And things like that. So people are kind of pushed towards this optimal, you know, all the time mindset. It's like, I mean, God, there were people when I was playing Monster Hunter, there were people that were just, they couldn't fathom why I was like using something that wasn't optimal, right? They just couldn't fathom it, right? It was like doesn't compute, right? Even though it's just a fucking, you know, PvE game that you can beat with like all the worst equipment and everything if you try hard enough, right? But yeah, I think people are definitely pushed in that direction now, right? Because it's you know, it's what gets clicks, it's what gets attention, and people, they want attention, they want to be popular, they want to be, you know, the cool kid or whatever. Good old balloons. I don't know that much about that game, but apparently it's all the rage these days. Okay, let's see. I guess we just start London. I can do the apple grabbing off stream. And you know, some people, and truly, some people enjoy the pursuit of, like, you know, whipping out the math, you know, and figuring out what's what and what beats what, and that I actually understand, you know, I get that. The thing is, most people that are so obsessed with following the meta and that kind of stuff, they're not doing that. They're not doing that stuff at all. They're just reading on Reddit what they're supposed to do and taking it as gospel, and that's that. They don't get in there and try to figure it out, and they wouldn't know one thing from another anyway. They're just following what, you know, the general consensus is, right? And that I don't get. That I don't get at all, right? But yeah, I get people that enjoy the process of min-maxing and figuring out and trying to, you know, break games and, you know, be overly powerful and stuff. Like, I totally get that. Let's see. None of these stages are going to be particularly fun, so we'll just kind of blast on through here. I'll put up my George again. Bond doesn't matter too much on this account, but I'll try to get a lot of fundamental stuff to Bond 5. In case, you know, I need to do an interlude on them later or something. Medusa is actually important on this account. The one thing this account needs to accomplish is unlocking all the taunt walls and having Medusa's first skill at 10 when she's level 1, because that's handy for a lot like Guadia and stuff like that. I think London is the first time where if you don't farm at all, you'll fall behind a bit. Now obviously you could still get carried by supports and never have to worry about it, but if you're just playing through the game naturally, London is a big enough of a stat jump on like the bosses and stuff that if you weren't using powerful supports, you'd be in for a pretty bad time. I need to get rid of all these event CEs, bunch of clutter. Uncovering fire is actually decent damage, you know it's bad. Yeah, the speedrunning is an extremely small part of gaming, although people enjoy watching it, but it's a very small community, and also that's completely different, right? That's almost like enjoying a race, right? That's a totally different thing. Like, no one speedruns a game when they've never played the game before. You know, it's something they do after having already played the game a bunch, and then you want to, you know, continue enjoying the game and you know, see a different side of it and that kind of thing. Here's the difference, right? So speedrunning is like the guy that actually figures the meta out and actually does the math and actually enjoys figuring out, you know, comparing stuff, right? And so speedrunning is basically doing that. It's actually figuring out the meta and actually competing, figuring out, you know, how can you optimize this more and more and more, right? Versus someone just playing through, let's say Wind Waker. Let's take Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, right? So the people playing the speedrunning are trying to figure out every optimal metal thing they can, and you know, using their brain pretty actively to do so. Versus, you know, some guy just picks up Legend of Zelda the Wind Waker, and then his friend is like, "Why aren't you doing speedrun strats? What's wrong? Why? That's more optimal if you use that item or you go this route." Meanwhile, the dude just like, water's pretty, woo, right? Like, it's a completely different thing, right? Like, the person just playing through the game is just like, "Oh, this city's cool. How about this music?" Right? It's not. No one playing fucking Wind Waker for the first time gives a flying fuck about speedrunning strats. Speaking of which, speedrunning strats in Wind Waker are hilarious and completely broken, but you know, what most speedrunning is. I don't think speedrunning is about one specific thing like, you know, breaking the game, because sometimes speedrunning actually, there's not that much game breaking, it depends on the game, you know, some speedruns, you're like going under the map and, you know, flipping loading screens inside and out and shit like that. But sometimes not so much, you know, sometimes it's about, you know, how do you get to this level the most meta way, what's the most effective technique to kill this boss, you know, always landing the headshots, and things like that. You know, it's a combination of things. I don't think there's, you know, any one thing that it's about. And that's why you have different categories. You know, some categories focus more on on technical stuff, and some focus on glitches, and some some categories won't allow certain glitches. So it's a pretty diverse thing, but it's ultimately whatever field you're in, it's about being meta, of course. But that's also more in line with like a fighting game as well. Being meta in a fighting game is the obvious thing to do. And like Genshin Impact is such an example of this because it has a lot in common with some Zelda games and like in exploration games like Far Cry, and no one plays Far Cry and is like, oh yeah, let me just get really optimal about beating the main story. They don't do that. They want to see the island and find all the the hidden bullshit and yada yada yada. It's the same thing in Genshin. The main draw, like, why do you think it blew up? Do you think Genshin Impact blew up because people wanted to optimize which 5-star weapon was 5% better on X character? Like, of course not. They didn't care about that. They were like, this Kaya guy looks really pretty, right? That's what most of them were thinking about, right? And then like, oh, this waterfall's awesome, or I want to find all the treasure chests and generic RPG story. That's overwhelmingly what people want. And overwhelmingly, a lot of people don't play the game when they don't have anything to explore anymore, and there's not any more story to do, right? Like, the community size of people that give a fuck about optimizing killing a slime 5 seconds faster is tiny. It's tiny compared to the actual player base. The player base is massive, right? A lot of them have quit though because they're done. They played the game, they saw their Kaya in hot pants, and they found the treasure, and they're done. And that's it. They're not playing anymore. Maybe some will come back, and maybe some won't. But that's the overwhelming majority of the Genshin Impact player base, right? It's this tiny, just vocal minority of people that are obsessed with killing slimes really, really fast for some fucking reason. Well, you can always play the other DMC games. They're pretty timeless, I would say. And I think DMC, it's not really a series where like, 5 is just better than 4, right? It's really not. There's unique and fun things about 3, 4, and 5. So they're all pretty fun to play. Even though 5 definitely has the best like combo, system and most fleshed out characters, there's still a lot of fun to be had in the other games. Like 3, I think, is still the most complete package with just having, trash mobs, boss fights, kind of just a nice, normal game experience. It has some, a good variety of bosses. It really does, and environments and that kind of thing. And then 4 has got some really fun characters because you can play as, Trish and Lady and all that nonsense. And it still has a very, fleshed out combo system and all that. Although it has the least amount of enemies, so that's kind of a problem. But all of those games have, reasons to be played, I would say. Yeah, I really like playing co-op with friends, so it's really fun to just, see like the crazy shit people come up with, like with Zerp with that challenge the other day. That was really fun. Yeah, the community stuff is really good. But I still, really like the, exploring and, the story. Even though I rip on the story so much, but it deserves it completely. By the way, this fog is atrocious. Like the graphics for this fog, that looks like shiny, like rubber. Like that is so bad. Anyway, but yeah, I would say like 70% of Genshin's story I just make fun of because it's terrible, but it's enjoyable because it's terrible. And then the other 30% is good for the most part. So that's kind of the Genshin story experience. But that's fine, right? It can be hilarious to have a game that just has a nonsensical story and whatnot. Like it looks like gloss. It's like glossy. Like, what the fuck? That's such bad fog. Doesn't look like fog at all. Wow, Caesar doing some damage there. I don't think anyone would have gotten into Fgo if they were like going into it with having to be meta all the time. You're like, yeah, I'm going into Fgo and I'm gonna do all the meta supports and just grind over. No, people get into Fgo because they're like, oh, I watched Fate. I want a Artoria. Let's just go Excalibur somebody, right? And some people, and this is sad, and I try to reinstill that in people in my videos. I really do. Because I think a lot of people, because of the way the human brain works, not even realizing it, the they accidentally go from, oh man, I want to get in there and fight the Guadia guy with Excalibur and use all my favorite characters. I liked that Zig cardboard guy, right? And then without even realizing it, they transition to, I must farm this free quest in 3 turns as much as possible, right? And they forgot why they were even playing the game. I really, that's a big part of my videos. I try to make fun things that are very fatey and, you know, dramatic or funny or thematic to what's going, that's I try to remind people you can have fun with the fucking game. That's the point of a game, is to have fun. And sure, there's no one way to have fun. Some people are not going to have fun the way I have fun, and that's totally fine. But I definitely see a lot of people get wrapped up in the meta without even like realizing it. Because I get comments all the time of people like, oh yeah, thanks to your videos, I try to do stuff like this too, and I have a lot more fun now. You don't have to farm all the time. Like, no shit. Like, new unit. I've seen this, dude. A new unit gets added and it's someone's favorite character, and like, oh, but they're not meta. It's like, what? Like, just use them anyway and go find fun stuff to kill with them, right? That's the thing. And you can mix these things too, right? You can have your time to be meta, and you have your time, because I'm meta sometimes. I've whipped out double scatty Edmund, K-scope, I've done that. Just depends on what I'm doing and what I'm looking to do at the time. Because sometimes I'm like, yeah, I do need to farm this event, and I'm busy watching YouTube or whatever, and yeah, I might as well just 3-turn this this node real quick, right? Like, I do that all the time. But then sometimes I'm like, yeah, I want to see a stereo crit for 500,000 or something. I've actually done that a lot, actually. Asterios is a surprisingly fun unit to mess around with like that, which is why I want to grail this account's Asterios. Watch this NP game. Even sometimes when I do dailies, I'll just be like, oh hey, okay, I need to use my AP real quick, but while I'm here, right, let me see, sometimes I'll just use it to test, right? I'm like, how practical is the NP damage on like a typical setup here for this unit versus that unit? And sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, let's try to make Hans, crit for 1 million or whatever, right? So sometimes I want to do that because it's fun. But yeah, sure, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, let's get these doors over with. But sometimes I use doors as a training ground, because you can get information from it, so. I mean, I think it's dumb to try to force people to be meta, but it's also dumb to cave to peer pressure, right? And I know it's a hard thing, especially when you're younger, and as you get older, it's a lot easier to ignore peer pressure because you've had more experience and time to realize how pointless and dumb it is. But, at any age range, it's dumb. Of course why do I have to explain this? Of course it's dumb to do things because other people tell you to, instead of because you think it's a good idea, right? Like, obviously that's not smart. I don't mind Scatty as a character, and I was really sad when she became so meta because I like quick units and I wanted a unit to, have fun with supporting quick units. And I stand by this. Single Scatty is not broken. It really isn't, and I actually think single Scatty is very fun to use. You'll actually get to use her NP chat. If you're not using her in a meta setup, you'll actually get to use her NP sometimes. By the way, it's still not like the most impactful thing ever, but it is a thing. And yeah, you won't win in like 5 seconds. It's nice, but because she's like so known for being so meta, you can't really put a single Scatty in a video. It's not the kind of videos I make. That's not gonna happen. Although I don't really use 5-star supports period in my videos generally, outside of when I am like, just LOL, we're making Mori hit really hard or whatever. Because it does make the bosses less interesting generally. I think Kama though is just popular anyway. Like even if Kama wasn't as good as she is, I think people would still be losing their minds. Overall, I think Fgo's pretty good about it. They really are. I mean, they've got a section. I mean, there's definitely, plenty of people that are obsessed with the meta and that kind of thing. But there's definitely enough people that, like when Nobu, when Avenger Nobu came out, and she wasn't super meta, there wasn't some giant uproar on Twitter and people weren't like, you know, freaking out at DW for adding a 5-star that's not meta defining, right? That just doesn't happen in Fgo much. Now you definitely have your niche of people that are, you know, always going to be meta all the time and always compare things to the meta and that kind of thing. But there's always a really healthy chunk of people that are like, but tits though, right? There's always that, right? I mean, and just, you know, I like this guy. I liked Fate Zero, so I want the characters from Fate Zero. Or I liked APOC, so I want the characters from APOC. There's always a lot of that, and that comes from Fate just being such a strong IP, I think, and having such a big fan base beyond just the game. So it's kind of lucky in that department. I remember Big Mama Nobu really did break the internet for a bit there, not because she wasn't OP, but just because a lot more people than normal found her hot, I guess. Because I remember that was such a thing. Like that was such a thing for a while. I remember. Dude, I can't get over this fog though. It's just terrible. Like this would just look better if they just made it like, you know, kind of transparent gray in the background, right? They don't, like, what are they doing? Like that is not how to fog. I think more people are gonna roll for Masashi just because Masashi, to be honest. And I actually think Masashi Berserker's gameplay is really fun, even if you're not using Test Story and all that kind of stuff. Like, she has pretty fun gameplay. It's a shame that she's a 5-star because I'm not gonna, you know, there's no way I'm blowing like 600 SQ or more for that, just because the gameplay's a fun novelty. But she is fun. She is unique. And, you know, gun swords for some reason. I need to do a video for him anyway, just because, I have him too. I keep forgetting my ult got him. I keep forgetting that. I need to get on that. He's pretty popular too, actually, in his own right. I was an unexpected turnaround. Like I kind of knew Jason would turn around when he got added. Not as much as he did, but I knew Jason was not like a complete dick because of his bit in Solomon and whatnot. So I figured when he got added, there'd be some degree of a redemption arc in the community's eyes. But it was definitely bigger than I thought. But I really didn't think Limbo was gonna turn that ship around at all. But somehow he did. I mean, he still has plenty of haters, but I very much surprised, because even I kind of like him now, right? Because I really didn't like him before, and even I'm like, you know, he is kind of cool. Like my room, he just wasn't quite what I was expecting. Like for example, when he's got a line for nursery rhyme, and you think it was gonna be all creepy and stuff, but it's not, right? It's kind of normal, and he's a lot of things in one place, right? So it's kind of strange, I guess. Actually, I don't know if they're gonna get a Lion King costume in arcade at all, just because of the way they're doing Camelot right now. Although it'd be easy for them to implement. It'd be very easy for them to implement, so they might. I really hope regular Fgo gets that though when the movie comes around. Like, shit, man, that'd be awesome. I guess this is supposed to be a boss? When is the second movie? I actually care, even though I think the movie's probably gonna be bad, but I'm very interested to see if we get like a Lancer Artoria buff or a, you know, animation update for somebody, that kind of thing. I know it's not out yet. How about this hand, though? I think it will be better than the first movie, because I think the main studio is doing the second movie. I don't think it'll necessarily be way better, but I do think it'll be better. Only crit once. We need to get Meth in the same room as Doorman. That's an experience right there. They split it to 2 studios because it saved the money and it was faster. It's obviously not for the artistic, you know, integrity or quality there. Hey, TG, thank you for the sub, man. I don't really get what extended subs mean versus just resubbing, but it seems to be the same thing, but I appreciate it. Is it just like resubbing early? I see those every once in a while and I'm like, I don't know what that means. It is? Okay. That's kind of cool that you can do that. Oh, do we want to like actually fight this? I could probably kill her this turn if I use all of I get a bit lucky and I use all of Beowulf's skills here. But yeah, let's fight this for realsies. I'm so tempted to just, dude. Really, what I need to do is off stream. I need to just get to Camelot, and then make a new account and have fun playing, and you know, make actual teams and you know, level up and stuff. Cause I keep being tempted to go farm just a little bit to give me a few extra units to mess around with. But I'm like, it's throwing the time away because this account in the long run, there's no reason to level anything on this account. There's no fucking reason to. Yeah, I should just blast through this because yeah, what am I gonna do? Go level up Medea? Like that's just such a waste of time. So I should just get to Camelot for God's sakes, and then if we want to come back to this later and have fun, we'll do that. I just wasted AP resetting, by the way. Like this account is not an account; it is a vehicle for videos. Like I don't remember that. And the only, you know, yeah, I'll do like the one thing where I grill Asterios, you know, or something like that. But beyond that, it's not. I'm not gonna do shit. It's dumb. But it's fun, man. And look, she got her animation update and everything, and she doesn't look like a... Hey, look, our hand is worse. That's great. Though I guess that means our next hand is more likely to be good. Hopefully Asterios doesn't die, because then the deck would shuffle. You fool. Imagine if she had given Beowulf his MP there. Not the best crit chances, but only takes one. This account does not have Tesla now. I wish it did. I tried to get him, because I'd use that for Zeus, but that would have got, I'm telling you, if I'd gotten NP2 Tesla on this account, that would have gotten me to actually play this account and farm at least the units that I would need to be in a Zeus video to support Tesla. I would do that, because I really want to make that video. But it didn't pan out, so. Out of all my accounts and all the summon tickets I threw around and everything, I did not get Tesla once. Yeah, I don't mind Jack with the cloak. I wouldn't say I hype her. I almost never hype kid characters, but I can at least not hate them, right? The absence of hate can occur. But yeah, if she's not in the cape or the cloak or the shroud or the garb or whatever, then yeah, not ideal. But I didn't roll on my main account for Tesla. It's just not worth the risk. There's no way. The Billy may be the kid, but he's not a kid. Also, Billy was not called the Kid because of the way he looked, or being short, or anything like that. That obviously could play into it to a degree, but the Kid was like a title that was given to people that didn't have parents, because it was pretty common for, you know, brats to be running around town or whatever, and, you know, their parents were dead for all kinds of reasons, because, you know, the Wild West, so... It's not necessarily a youthful thing. Dude, if they add Zeus in his avatar form, God, I'm going so ham on that, like, fucking grailing the shit out of it and everything. Like, he is so awesome, dude. Like, God damn it, man. I love that design. I was so worried Zeus was gonna look, and I will say Zeus's boss form does kind of look dumb, but, you know, at least he's got his avatar form to, you know, kind of rep Zeus, right? And I was so worried he just wasn't gonna look anything like, you know, what you would want Zeus to look like. But, you know, they did good, man. And they even have, like, the marble kind of skin, which, you know, I think works pretty well. So, yeah, they nailed it. They had a nice mix of anime with more classical, you know, Zeus, though, right? So it really worked out. But, yeah, hopefully we can actually get that design someday. That would be swell. Besides, the regular version of Zeus sounds like a bro, so... That's kind of how I think they handled this very well. Now this might be an accident, and they may not have actually cared. Now they certainly have done their research with Zeus, though. They're by the way they have him behave in the Lost Belt, and what they say about the regular Zeus. They are well aware of, like, the variety of legends where sometimes he's a really, you know, big asshole, and sometimes not so much. Like they're very aware of that. It's really obvious in Lost Belt 5. But what they seem to have done, and I'm totally okay with this, is Lost Belt Zeus is mostly the giant, fuck you, you know, piece of shit ruler guy. And then the regular Zeus in, like, pin history, where the fuck they call it, I don't know, stupid. Anyway, you know, he's, you know, more of the cool uncle figure, right? I still think they'll have him be a little iron-fisted and whatnot, but that's reasonable. That's how he should be. Because yeah, it's not just like it's not like just in Disney's movies and stuff that Zeus is portrayed as, like, the cool uncle. I mean, there's a lot of legends where he's not being a giant douchebag, right? And they're all independent legends from each other, so it's fine doing it that way. I like having the way they did that, so. But we'll see if they ever characterize regular Zeus more. I think someday they will. It might be a long-ass time. It could be in 3.0 or whatever, but I think they will probably use Zeus for something again someday. Especially because of all the stuff with Europa. It just kind of makes sense. That's how Hades does it for the most part. You know, they still have the Olympians be a little self-interested and that kind of thing, but because yeah, like, even with, like, Athena, it's not like a lot of, like, there's, like, the one with Medusa, right? It's like, you know, she's, like, jealous of all the attention Medusa is getting, and that's why she's so scornful, right? But it's not like every version of Athena is like that. She's not. The Greek gods are pretty universally, you know, somewhat selfish and capricious and that kind of thing, but it's not like they're always that bad. But I think it's fair. Like I say, I think it's fair game if you want to make a video game or an anime or a movie or whatever, and you want to portray them as that bad. That's fine. There are certainly legends that back up that take on them, but I don't like when you'll see this in, like, YouTube comments or whatever. Let's say you watch a YouTube video, it's portraying a Greek god as a dickbag. You know, all the comments are like, oh yeah, they were a dickbag because of this one legend and stuff. Like, they were real. They're not real. That one story is not any more canonical than the other stories, and, you know, a lot of them contradict each other. So it's like, in that story, they were a dickbag, right? But it's not like, oh yeah, that character's just a dickbag all the time. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's different for real people that actually lived, right? But for legends that were written by countless different individuals that had nothing to do with each other and just had their own agendas, you know, it's all over the map. Because, like, I like how people are doing exactly what I just talked about. Like literally what I just described, people are doing in my chat right now. It's like there's that, they act like this thing is that because in this one story they did something stupid, right? Like that's not how it works. Again, that's like saying Artoria is a brunette because in a fan fiction she's a brunette, right? It doesn't, you know, there was no copyright back then, right? That's why all the legends don't sync up, right? They don't all portray the characters the same way. Like, if you do your research, what I'm talking about is just obvious. It's just a matter of fact. If you go around looking up all the information and stories you can on Greek mythology, you know, and not like the modern interpretations and you know, collections and stuff, like you just find the stuff. They contradict each other like crazy. Like you can find like you can find them on YouTube even, like books on tape and things like that, where they've kind of taken a lot of Arthurian legend and they've kind of found a way to kind of put them in order and have them sync up and stuff. And people act like that's the canon of Arthurian legend. It's not. That's just like modern historians and such cherry picking what they know can actually work together and tell like a coherent story and blah. That's not the actual legends. It's not, right? It's taking aspects of them. When you just take the raw known legends of Arthurian stuff, it contradicts itself like mad because it was written by countless different people with different agendas and a lot of them retelling the same stories in a different way. And no one is any more right than the other, right? They just find the right, you know, combination of these things to put in like a montage that kind of works, and then people act like, yep, that's Arthurian legend. It's not, right? Now it's in its own right. It's its own, you know, self-contained, you know, story and, you know, way of, you know, seeing those legends, and that's totally fine. But it's not like there's no canonical way Mordred behaves, because Mordred is portrayed differently in a lot of the different stories. Like the whole showdown with Arthur is different in loads of the stories. So there's no one that's right. There's just that one and that one and that one. And not enough fact checking going on in my fictional mythos. I probably could have done this turn better. I wasn't really paying attention. Could have had Asterios double attack the 10k one and then have Beowulf attack the front one, and it would have killed 2 that turn. Instead I only killed 1, shaking my head. And you know, as much as I like Green Knight, he is such a good example of what I'm talking about, because his different stories, all of them cannot exist at the same time in a set canon, right? Like, well, I mean, they can. It'll just make absolutely no sense and be, you know, very poorly constructed. But like a lot of his stories directly contradict each other in terms of like what his goals are and what he's doing and where he is, and like they just don't work. You can't have they don't, you know, they pull all the stories with the Green Knight, at least that we have, you know, pull for some similar themes, and you know he's, you know, got some things in common between stories. But like ultimately his relation to the Knights of the Round changes, you know, his objectives change, you know, like it's not the same. I mean, for God's sakes, the characters, they're, because like the legends went on for so long and there were so many versions and stuff, their equipment changes, for God's sakes, because in like the olden days, you know, they were so old, right? The kind of technology you had at the time was X, and then, you know, way later, and when you get into like England and France and stuff, it's a lot more advanced. So like the weaponry and stuff they're said to be using literally changes with the years. But you know, the characters obviously aren't so old in their own story to have actually lived through those different periods. Like Arthur's not in his story supposed to be like, you know, 300 years old or anything, right? It's not how that works. Let's see, so we have to get through America as well. Oh god. If we can just get to Gwaine though, and we just wait there until we actually know like what videos we're gonna make. That's gonna be really fun for testing. There's a lot of fun to be had with Gwaine, because especially at neutral, my god, because a good number of things can solo it that are archers. I will say though, soloing Gwaine for an archer is harder than soloing the dragon. But it's still not, it's not too bad, but it's a bit of an extra step. But yeah, a crap load of archers, if they're properly upgraded, can handle it. But it's super fucking hard on neutral and things like that. Yeah, testing Lancers against Gwaine will be pretty tough. You obviously don't expect them to win. It's just see how far they can get. I haven't used coup versus Gwaine in a while. I'll be looking forward to doing that. I about have maximum coup. Just a faux pause. Only got like one card left. Yeah, Gwaine's damage is much higher than the dragon's. And because he's got the damage resistance, he's actually got less health than the dragon, I'm pretty sure, even with the damage resistance. Although it's pretty close, I think. I can't remember exactly what his health is, to be honest. But his damage output is just so much higher. Now, for some units, it depends. Yeah, some units, they care more about the health of the enemy, less so than their damage output. And some people are the other way around, right? Like, Lanling will do worse against Gwaine than he did against the dragon. Like, not even, it's not even comparable. He'll do so much worse versus Gwaine than he did against the dragon because Gwaine's damage output is so high. However, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty curious how Lanling does against Gwaine. I'm pretty interested to see that. I'm not so sure he's gonna win, but I think he'll have a pretty decent performance, even though Gwaine does have that kind of damage. Like, maximum Lanling, Max Ling, if you will, has so much survivability still that, yeah, I think it could still be pretty impressive, so we'll see. Who knows, maybe he does win, we'll see. Now, what I wish we could fight Memorial Stage Gwaine, because that is a huge step up from the dragon, because Memorial Gwaine has like the 600,000 health. Regular Gwaine is like, you know, like 300, 400k in that range, and the Memorial Gwaine having 600k combined with his damage resist, it's more than like a 200k-ish boost. So yeah, Memorial Gwaine is a stat stick right there. That is quite a thing to test against. Unfortunately, you know, he's not repeatable, and you know, DW hates fun. I would, dude, if they brought Memorial Gwaine back, it's just something you could fight whenever you want. That would be so nice. Like that is a great boss for that kind of thing. Well, I can definitely kill the boss if I get a crit here. It's just not gonna kill two. Barely got a crit there. Never tried King Potato Chips, and obviously she got buffed not too long ago, so we'll have to see. Her recent buff will help though, because Gwaine NPs pretty rapidly. I tell you, that's another thing. Gwaine is just such a different beast compared to the dragon, because the dragon doesn't NP very often. So if you've got your decent self-survival, like hard survival, you can fend off his NP potentially indefinitely, so his NP will never kill you. So you just have to be able to deal with his normal damage, and because the dragon's AoE, his normal damage isn't that high. But Gwaine NPs quite often, and so, you know, obviously hard survival is still good, very much so, but it's not going to bail you out forever by any means. Your ass is getting NP'd unless you win really, really, really fast, so, yeah, it's a whole different thing. It's not, I will say though, for a standard unit, now again, certain units are incentivized and de-incentivized in different situations, right? So some units will get wrecked by Gwaine that would otherwise like wreck the dragon, but some units will get wrecked by the dragon, like some berserkers with no survivability, you know, like the dragon having that much health can really be a problem for them. But like Billy the Kid, for example, is a nice kind of middle of the road, just standard, straightforward DPS, straightforward survival, you know, nothing super gimmicky or out there, right? Just kind of normal value, right? It's pretty typical stat check kind of unit. He can solo both the dragon and Gwaine, but there's not that big of a turn difference. Like the amount of turns he had left in terms of living and stuff, it's not that different. So Gwaine's a little harder. Gwaine's a little harder, definitely, but it's not a huge amount. But Billy also has the kind of kit that, you know, is not going to get countered by Gwaine. He's not necessarily countering Gwaine either, but there's a lot of units where Gwaine's gimmicks and stuff will just be a huge problem with it. Yeah, we'll do Gwaine versus Gwaine for sure. Yeah, I need to get off my ass, and we need to get there. I'm kind of looking forward to messing around against Gwaine, so I need to start playing this off stream more. I was not playing it off stream because I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a video or not for Oceanus, but you know, fuck it, we'll just get to Gwaine. That's the good shit anyway. Gawain should be Earth if I'm remembering how it works. Like, I haven't looked it up. Earth is for like legendary figures that didn't actually exist, that are human generally, and so she should be Earth. That's why Tesla counters Earth and Sky, because Sky are you know, supernatural, you know, which obviously none of those things actually existed, so obviously that's nonsense, but they're supernatural, they're the gods in which he's directly against, and then Earth are like fantasy, right? They're not real, they're not, they're made up, right? And so it's like, he's anti-fantasy, he's anti, you know, the unreal. He wants humanity to focus on reality and science, and, you know, pick themselves up, and, you know, not rely on legends and superstition and all that kind of thing. Can I get NP2 Tesla, please? Dude, the most serious, I swear, they've ever used Tesla was in Scatty's interlude, because they weren't doing Edison jokes there. I will never hear this song and not think of Rex, by the way. Yeah, but Jekyll and Hyde and Frankenstein weren't real. It's not about, you know, most things on Earth are going to be from, you know, ancient stuff, because most myths are ancient. But I may be, you know, killing Christmas here for some people, but Jekyll and Hyde aren't real. That's not a thing. And neither is Frankenstein, believe it or not. I know, Chad. I'm really killing the mood here, but yeah, that's not real. That is fantasy. It's not real stuff, like King said. It's not reality. Where people that are like Napoleon, right? Napoleon, I think, is man, right? Because that is things that did exist and are real. You know, they're not being fathomed out of the ether, if you will. You're a fantasy. My innocence is gone. Time to report, Mr. Twitch. Star is its own thing, because Star's like a, I think they're like people that like advanced humanity a lot, or made great discoveries, or like, you know, they're pioneers, be it literal pioneers or metaphorical, generally, is, if I remember correctly what Star is. I think, I may be remembering that wrong. But so you can, you know, Napoleon meets the criteria of man, but yeah, he's probably Star because of that. And as my theory with why a lot of, not all, but why a lot of the people that are Star don't take bonus damage from Aya is because Gilgamesh respects people that move humanity forward. And this is that is not a that's not reading between the lines. That's not a theory, that part. Like, Gilgamesh does respect people that, you know, pioneered humanity and moved them forward, because that's Gilgamesh's goal, is he wants humanity to advance and rely on themselves, not the gods, and he wants them to eventually make it to the stars, you know, and that kind of thing. So I mean, that's just canonical that he does respect people that do that. And my guess is they're trying to kind of, just as a, you know, nod, fun little thing, they're kind of representing that there. And also, I think they're representing, this has always been, this has never been explained, but Gilgamesh has always had this, like, thing with space. They've always kind of referred to him as like having some knowledge from space that like we don't really know about or get. Like his Nerofest name is like the one that is like seen some, I don't remember what it's some weird shit like that. And he always just, they reference a lot of stuff with him, like knowing a lot about the root and things like that. And the other people that don't take bonus damage from Aya are normally people that have like knowledge of space or from space, or because I think they've really implied that Aya is from like another universe or some bullshit, or time before time or some nonsense. So I think they're kind of just, they're representing the whole, you know, Gilgamesh respecting certain people that have, you know, pioneered humanity, and then just people that have gained like this secret, you know, some knowledge from space, basically. It's not, by the way, it's not a canonical thing though. The whole weak to Enema Elish thing, that's just a game nod thing. Like, some of the anti-male, female stuff isn't like a canonical thing. It's just like, it's kind of a way to represent the character's personality or whatever. Now, some of them are canonical, but some of them are not. And like, there's nothing in any character material book, any of the actual stories or anything that suggests that like some servants take more damage from Aya and some, you know, don't. Like, that's not a thing. It's just, it does big damage and that's that. Yeah, generally a lot of stuff that's from space or has knowledge, like real knowledge of space, generally don't take bonus damage from Aya, and then also people that have really pioneered humanity and stuff. You know, it would be interesting to see actually Tesla versus Aya, because Tesla has an EX ranked Noble Phantasm for offense and defense. Now if Gil gives a shit, I think Gil's clearly gonna win, because when you look at what they've said about Aya and like how high its power can go if Gil pushes it, I don't think Teslas could keep up with how ridiculous Aya can get. The question is, you know, can Tesla block enough Aya that to like where any more than that, like, you know, Gil wouldn't be willing to do that, right? You know, Gil doesn't want to rip the earth up or anything like that. Yeah, they've never put a hard number on Tesla's EX NP, so we don't really know. I would doubt it, though, just because Aya nonsense, but yeah, they've never given us a lot of information about Tesla's other than its EX rank and that kind of thing. Well, it's not what I mean. Like Carmella, I haven't read Carmella's character material book in ages, so I don't fucking remember. But obviously Carmella is famous for killing women, but that doesn't mean canonically she does more damage to women, right? They're obviously representing that in gameplay, but that doesn't mean she actually has a skill that just like, oh yeah, she does bonus damage to female servants and stuff. Now she might. I'm just saying that as like an example. I mean, Carmella may well have that in canon. But my point is there are several things in gameplay like that, where it's like, oh yeah, they have knowledge of this thing, or they're good at figuring this kind of thing out, so they in gameplay they represent that with, you know, crit damage or whatever the fuck. That doesn't mean that's what they do canonically, right? There's all kinds of examples of things like that not syncing up. You know, there's literally nothing like weak to Enema Elish in lore. That's not a thing. That's just a gameplay thing. And there's plenty of examples of that. Siegfried, though, is an example of a servant having a very similar toolkit to what he actually has. Now, obviously he's lacking his armor effect in gameplay, but his anti-dragon skill is essentially what it is in gameplay. Not necessarily in like how strong or weak it is, but he just all the time does more damage to things that have dragon attribute, or that are dragons, and takes less damage from them. Like, it's not just the more damage, he receives less damage from things that have a dragon attribute. Like Artoria has a dragon attribute, because, you know, the whole drinking dragon blood nonsense, you know, Uther and Vortigern, etc., etc. Anyway, so she will hit, basically what I'm saying is, if Artoria punches Mordred in the face, and then she punches Siegfried in the face, it's gonna hurt Mordred more, right? It's not gonna hurt Siegfried too much. Yeah, even though in gameplay it just gets like this generic defense up against dragons, that is pretty much how it works in lore too. But yeah, that's rare. A lot of times they don't translate one-to-one like that. Not to mention emotional damage. And yeah, Fafnir in the actual legends is generally shown as like a venomous dragon and has like poisonous breath. And you have Siegfried with the disengage skill, which clears ailments. And in lore, his version of disengage does cure ailments, so counters the poison from the dragon and everything. So they got some fun stuff in there like that from time to time. And even though Day 1 Fgo is a joke, Fenrir does, in gameplay in Orleans, he does apply poison with his dragon breath, which is his NP. So they at least got that right. We didn't crit, did we? There's like no way we crit there. We didn't do shit damage. Like, well, Mordred is still alive, so something. Oh right, Mordred's a dragon. I forgot. Oh god. But yeah, she's a dragon, so Beowulf gets his bonus damage too. Boy, she was not having that though. Did bust her up before attacking, which was meta, but then she did art attack, so throwing a bit there. Why Toria punched her. Dude, the actual story of Beowulf is just so awesome. Covers a lot of interesting like topics and a lot of like character growth and everything. It's quite fascinating. You know, everyone knows Beowulf for like the Grendel stuff, but I really think the dragon showdown at the end is kind of the best part because it's a lot of character growth and better king than Artoria, by the way. Man, they could have done so much more with the Norse Lost Belt. I was unbelievably disappointed with that story just because, like, there's good stuff in it and there's good characters in it and that kind of thing. It's just they threw away so much potential. Like, they threw away so much potential, and I was like, you gotta be. And I love Norse mythology. It's one of my absolute favorites. Norse and mostly Irish, but a lot of Celtic stuff are like my two favorites generally. And Norse was one of the first mythologies I really got to know when I was younger, so it's always had a special place in my heart. And I really like Norse mythology because it has less connections to a lot of other mythologies. It does obviously influence German stuff dramatically. That's undeniable, that the influence there. But you know, it's not as connected to a lot of the like Middle East mythologies and stuff that have you know, go back to like Babylonia and whatnot, and have influenced a lot of myths and legends, and they influenced each other as they were going, big time, right? That's why you see like a flood everywhere and those stories and stuff. But the Norse stuff isn't really connected to that at all, and so you know, it's pulling from a very different background, a very different culture, and it's just very unique. It is so unique in comparison to all of the stuff that does, you know, so directly go back to like the Epic of Gilgamesh and whatnot. And obviously I love the Epic of Gilgamesh and it's great and everything, but it's I love seeing that the uniqueness of the Norse stuff, and it's kind of got its own, you know, branching path. And a lot of the Celtic and Irish stuff is like that as well. It's a shame that it got so deleted for a while there. I'm glad it's kind of ran it back though. A lot of Irish mythology and Celtic mythology in general, from pre-Christian, obviously the pre-Christian stuff, a lot of it wasn't written down. A lot of it was word of mouth. And yeah, you know, Ireland had a... Do I need to explain Irish history, right? You know, they had a bad time, right? Things didn't go so good with them, with, you know, the rest of Europe and whatnot. And so, yeah, a lot of their stuff was lost, and then also just hasn't been that popular, but thankfully, you know, they've kind of ran that back now and recovered, if you will, and Irish mythology and so forth is more known now than it has been in a long time, so it's slowly, and it's cool, man, it's really cool. Yeah, I tell you, Irish history is just a catastrophe. Like, it's fucked, man. I mean, I respect their ability to endure it, and, you know, they went through so many, you know, invasions and just being treated terribly. Like, the Irish were treated so badly in America when they first immigrated here. I mean, so fucking badly. But they, you know, they kept their chin up, man, and they, you know, they've done a great job of enduring and you know, persevering and just working hard and all that kind of stuff. So it's impressive that through all this insanity that they've gone through in history, that they not only have survived, but now are, you know, totally, I don't know, caught up with the modern world, accepted by the modern world, right? Even though they went through such issues, right? So yeah, it's pretty insane story. Yeah, oh yeah, a lot of the Celtic, you know, area, they had a bad time in history, man. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't really do anything with Loki when they did Norse stuff, because he's so famous. Okay, so Norse mythology is quite known in NA, especially, like, it's very known. It's not as famous as Greek mythology, but, you know, people don't necessarily research it well, right? But they know, you know, everyone knows the name Thor and, you know, Hammer Guy, and although obviously, you know, Marvel making it even more known, but even before Marvel getting big, people knew about Norse mythology. Odin wasn't like some, who's that, right? People knew the name Odin and Thor and Loki, like, very much so. But I don't think that's the case in Japan. I don't think it is at all. You know, certainly they might know the absolute most famous things like Thor, but they're gonna know way less than, and just care less. This thing care a lot less than you're gonna see like over here. So I think that's part of why they've done so little with Norse mythology. I just don't think they really. It's not much of a cultural thing over there, right? They don't even know that much about it or care too much. Where over here, there's plenty of interest in it. Yeah, let's summon Sanson against a caster. I'm sure that'll go great. Got leveled George, right? I'll do Ushi. That's my backup plan in case this goes very badly. How about this music though? A lot of stories of Norse mythology were read to me when I was like a little kid, so I've kind of always been aware of it. And as I got older and got more interested in history, obviously just, you know, researched it myself a lot. Nursery Rhyme, unfortunately, and this is shocking, but Nursery Rhyme is not a dragon. Such nonsense. Man, Beowulf is bonking a lot of people right now, but it's getting us through this decently quickly, so. He probably does have a story about a dragon in there somewhere. Dude, I'm already frustrated because I know they're gonna fuck it up. The potential for an awesome animation update for Nursery Rhyme, right? Here, I hate this. I hate the state of Fgo right now because it's just obvious. They put a lot more effort and resource into new characters than they do animation updates. So if Nursery Rhyme wasn't in the game right now, but she was added tomorrow, she would probably get really fucking cool, well flushed out animations. Where when she gets an animation update, they're probably going to be pretty phoned in. And there may be some cool stuff in them, sure, but there's just going to be less effort put into them than you know, a new unit. And that just sucks, man. Like, I hate that. And it's just such a waste, man. Like, there's so many cool units that, you know, when they get animation updates, you want them to, you know, really actualize what they're about, but they're not gonna. I don't want to wait until I add another Buster card, but we'll just go boom now. Probably won't kill though. It's so much better to do this when you make it like 5 stars or whatever on your own, then you use the star bomb, because then you have like enough stars to get somewhere. So probably a mistake here. But yeah, there's so much potential with Nursery Rhyme. Not just because it's Nursery Rhyme, but because she has the book form and then the regular form, right? So like, they should clearly have 2 different animation sets, and you could pull from a lot of different stories and do so much with it. You know, it's kind of like sky's the limit with that. It's kind of like, you know, like the genie in the animated version of Aladdin, right, from Disney. Like, you had like no limits to what you could do with the genie there, right? But they're gonna phone it in, dude. They're gonna phone it in so hard. So even though they have this like awesome potential, they're gonna do a little bit with it, I hope. But I doubt they're gonna really, take it home, if you will. But who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. They've had a few animation updates that they put more effort into than I was expecting. I'm hoping DW is gonna really turn it around this year and really start, doing good. That whole drama, though, with them hiring that Baba guy and their other game exploding and everyone quitting, doesn't give me confidence. Does not, especially because the leaker was saying that they were pulling people off Fgo and those people were quitting. That really worries me. Hope is a virtue even when it's misplaced. Yeah. Let me get water real quick. I can't get over them hiring that guy, though. I just, are you kidding me? I tell you, I'm so sad that leaker turned out to be legit, right? And a lot of leakers are never, even if they are legit, they're never able to prove it, right? But that guy proved it pretty soundly. Now that, again, I have to say though, that doesn't mean everything he says is correct, because it's going to come from his perspective, right? He's probably not that high up in the company, and he's going to have his own bias and spin on things. It's not like he doesn't have access to their financials and whatnot, most likely. So some of what he says is going to be off. But yeah, I mean, it was quite a lot of evidence that what he was saying was real, because he predicted, what their release schedule was going to be for that new game of theirs and things like that. So it's pretty obvious that he does indeed work for DW. But according to him, it's not like his position is rare. And there's been a lot of other people that have also claimed that they're working for DW, and they're also mad. They haven't gone through as much effort to prove their validity. But, what he's saying, he's proven that he does work for DW, well, most likely anyway. And he's saying not only is he disgruntled, but a lot of the employees are. Because they hired a fucking idiot, and, running their new game into the ground, and then they were pulling people off Fgo and that didn't want to be pulled off Fgo. And then they have to work for that guy, and then they hate him, and then they quit. That's what he said. It's like, that has happened. People were working on Fgo, and they got forcibly taken off Fgo and put on their new game, and then they hated working for that guy, and they quit the company entirely. And that's not good. And that new game is doing very poorly, by the way. He may not be fired because they may not be able to know who it is. If they figure out who it is, they will certainly fire him, no question. But yeah, as far as we know, they haven't actually identified him. But who knows, maybe they have by now. Other games like Sakurai something, Sakura Wars, the franchise, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that they overly invested in that new game. That definitely seems to be the case. And I think some of why they're making such bad decisions is they're desperately trying to justify that investment. And that is not a rare thing, unfortunately, in the gaming industry. A lot of publishers and developers make that mistake, where they don't cut their losses when they gotta. You'll have large-ass publishers, invest heavily in a game, and it flops hard. And instead of just accepting it, they keep pumping money into it for a while to try to salvage it, and it generally doesn't work. I do not think DW can turn this around. That new game, I have no confidence that they're going to turn that around. Now, it could happen, you never know. There's been some crazy turnaround stories, but you gotta remember, for every game that turns it around and really gets on track, like that Final Fantasy MMO, because it used to be a shit show, and they really changed it, and there's been some, it's happened, it's happened. But for every time it happens, there are countless times that it doesn't. And I think Fgo was a fluke. I think Fgo was 1,000,000% a fluke and just carried by its IP, and they don't understand why it was successful. And I have no confidence that they're going to turn that Sakura game around. I would suspect, you know, within a year, it's just going to either be shut down for God's sakes, or just in such a bad state. You know, nowhere on the rankings for like, you know, app earnings and things like that. Like, it's just going to be nothing. I mean, it already is, but you know, it could theoretically turn it around. But I don't think so at all. Yeah, Final Fantasy had the IP carry them as well. That's true. They would not have been because their MMO came out in just the worst state like imaginable, right? And the main reason they were able to turn it around is because you know they had the money to basically reinvent the wheel and put it back in the oven and, you know, really put some effort into it. Most companies, and they only have that kind of money because of the IP. Most companies can't do that. Now, DW does have a lot of more money than one might expect because of the success of Fgo and that kind of thing, even though DW is such a small company. That's only gonna do some. Why is this a 12K boss? What the fuck? Fucking day one Fgo, man. Well, I guess this isn't day one, but, you know, year one Fgo. Like, what the fuck? Just fought, you know, a 200K boss, and now they throw a 12K boss at me. Like, what is literally the point of this? Danger, though. Oh, I'm sure Fgo is separate from this situation. Because this has been going on for a while, right? We're just now learning about it, but, I mean, they've been working on that game behind the scenes for a long-ass fucking time. They probably hired that Baba guy a while ago, right? So I think a big part of why the last year and a half, I really think the last like year and a half to 2 years of Fgo has been shit. Like, there's been good things among it, and there's been cool characters and good, you know, work done by the voice actors and artists, and they've had some good challenge quests and stuff. But overall, the state of the last 2 years, I think, has been a joke when you consider how financially successful this game has been versus like how slow they've been with animation updates and quality of life updates and just adding anything like a game mode, right? You know, they've just been coasting, doing copy-pasted events over and over and over again, right? And the only like work being done that's new is by the artists and writers, which don't work for DW, right? It's really been pathetic. I think the Fgo for the last 2 years on the DW front has been pathetic. I think it's been fine on where the artists are concerned and the voice actors are concerned and stuff. I think it's been fine, and I think a part of that is some of it. I think DW's always just been kind of a scrub company that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing because, you know, they started off as like nobodies that got hired by Aniplex because they didn't cost anything. But I think another part of it is definitely this other game they've been working on, and there's another game they've been working on that we know even less about. But I definitely think they've been phoning in their obligations to Aniplex and Type Moon for a while. Yeah, I think Fgo has been suffering because of that. Like, no question. Like, dude, there's just they've said things like certain animation updates were like ready last second. That doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't, right? Like, when you look at the amount of staff they should be able to afford and like where they should be allocating their time and everything, they should be having no problems putting out, you know, good quality animation updates. Of course, they can't pump out like 10 animation updates in 3 months or anything. Of course not. But like, you know, they should not be having the struggles that they've been having and like the issues with their command code UI. These things should not be happening, and to me, they're happening because they are just phoning it in with Aniplex and Type Moon, right? They're not actually caring that much about Fgo. They're doing what they have to do, not what they want to do, right? What they want to do is they want to put their time and resources and effort into these other games that they're making because they want a bigger cut of that pie. But they're not making a very big pie over there. It's a really tiny pie, right? So they're actually losing money, which is why they had that, you know, that's part of at least why they had that massive profit drop. But it sucks. I hope, I mean, that in the long run, this could be good for Fgo because they might get forced to like stop being dumbasses and, you know, and focus on the one thing that they have that's going good for them, which is Fgo. So in the long run, it could be good for Fgo, but in the short term, it's certainly bad, and it has been bad. Boudica is suffering, by the way. Like, it's just being Boudica in general is suffering in Fgo, for sure. There's just no way they're gonna sell the game. There's just I cannot stress how rare it is that publishers will take a game away from a studio and give it to someone else. It happens so rarely, and the reason it happens so rarely, because believe me, it is not rare that like bad relations and issues occur between publishers and developers. This happens all of the time, right? So you'll have a publisher hire a developer, and it may be a long-running game or whatever, and they have a long contract or whatever, and then things, you know, negotiations break down, right? This happens all the time, but rarely is it to the point where the publisher is willing to be like, yep, fuck these guys, get someone else on this, like, because it is a nightmare to switch developers, because first off, a lot of developers would never accept a job like that, because like if you're a big successful developer, why would you accept a contract to go work on a game that's already, you know, been going for a while or already in development hell or whatever, when you could just work for literally any other publisher and not do that, right? So you'd have to pay them more than the norm generally, and so that's a one reason not to do it. And then it's also really likely to just not work, because like a lot of games, depends on the game, but like Fgo's got a pretty fucked up, you know, code, and it's an old game engine, and you have a lot of people that have been working with it for years and years and years and years, and so they can work around the issues and you know, be pretty quick with it. Where if you give it to a brand new developer, they're gonna have no fucking, they're gonna look at the code and be like, what the fuck is going on, right? It's not like, how to explain this? It's not, it can be this is really hard to explain, but it's like, if you're a developer, you're like if you're a coder, you're doing the engineering side of things, and you have a whole game just plopped in your lap, and it has some crazy fucking code that you have no idea what they were thinking. You don't know what leads to what. You don't know why it's set up the way that it is. It's an old as fuck game engine. You're not necessarily, even if you want to put in the hours and the time to fix it, you may not be able to, because you're just not gonna know what the fuck is going on, right? And so that, from what we've heard of Fgo, it really does have nightmare code. So switching developers is just a disaster. Like, I mean, it would just be such a, even if DW is screwing over Aniplex and is phoning it in, and Aniplex is aware that they're phoning it in, that does not mean Aniplex is going to be willing to give it to a different developer, because they're going to have to pay that developer a lot of money. And even if that developer is god tier and they can figure the code out and they can fix it and make it better moving forward and all kinds of shit, or they upgrade the game engine, you name it, it's going to slow things down so much for a while, right? Because it's going to, no matter how good that dev is, it is going to take them quite a while to figure it out and see what's going on with the code, and then they got to get on the same page with Type Moon and, you know, and working with their writers and everything, and you know, actually implementing stuff. So I mean, you're talking about like things slowing down to a crawl for at least a year, like almost dead stop for at least a year, right? You're gonna have very little things happening, and most, they're just not willing to do that, right? I mean, the cost of that, because you have to be paying the developer this entire time and everything. Like, I mean, there's a reason most publishers just do not do that, right? It's like very unlikely to pan out, right? Because now it can work, right? Sometimes you take that short-term massive dip, but in the long run, maybe, you know, they really turn the game around and maybe, you know, really improve the game engine, and they're just way better developers. They have better ideas, and in the long run, it ends up being better. But most people don't want to take that risk, right? Because what if it doesn't turn out like that, right? What if it gets worse? What if the game dies completely? What if then you just wasted all this money and you're not getting the profit you could have gotten, right? So most people just, they will not fucking do it. Would we notice the difference? Yeah, it's easy to meme and be like, oh, we're barely getting anything new as is. We would notice the difference. Like, you know, even now, you know, yes, they don't add a lot of new stuff. There's almost no like new game modes, and you know, the events are very copy pasted and things like that. But we're actually getting events, right? A lot of the events are copy pasted, very much so, but at least they're happening, right? At least the events are happening. Where if these swap devs, I don't think you would see any. The only kind of events you'd be seeing were things that require almost no assets being put into the game, right? Like, oh, log in to get this thing, right? It'd be shit like that, right? Like, I think it'd be, unless they're a miracle dev, or some of the dev team quit and moved to the new one, and that can happen, right? Sometimes you get like key talent pool to like carry over and that kind of thing. But yeah, I would not count on it. Yeah, before Type Moon got involved, Fgo was pretty messed up. And from the sound, here's another thing. It's not, what I just talked about has to do with Aniplex, right? Aniplex is the decision maker in that department. Aniplex ain't any fucking better. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Even if they're unhappy with DW, they couldn't tell you why. They are fucking morons. Aniplex is like, they're like the old granddad that is in charge of the video games that doesn't understand the video games, right? Like, they are morons. They are so out of touch with the industry. Like, holy shit. They would not make a good call if, you know, it was staring them in the face, right? So I have no confidence that Aniplex would be able to even identify the problem, let alone take good action on it. Because when you look at the other games they manage, you know, they're all for not having safety nets and, you know, being anti-emulator and their fucking games shut down all the time. They are awful, dude. And like the way they handle anime, like with their price model and everything, just such dinosaur thinking, right? So yeah, I don't have any. The two shot callers for the most part are Aniplex and DW when it comes to the gameplay side of things. You know, Type Moon owns all the rights to the characters and the writing, and they certainly have some say on things. But like, for example, this is the free 5-star was Type Moon's idea, and Aniplex fought against it, and Type Moon had to like drag him over the coals to make it happen. When that was one of the better PR moves they've like ever done, and got people really excited, and they got loads of people to play the game that hadn't played it. Because like, oh hey, I can jump into Fgo and just start off with any free 5-star here, right? So I think it was a pretty good move, right? But Type Moon had to like beat them over the head to do it. And they tried, Aniplex tried really hard to not do the free 5-star, right? It's like they're terrible, man. They do not understand the balance between like keeping your player base happy in the long run, resulting in profit, right? All they see is short-term money grubbing, right? Like, oh yeah, make it so they gotta spend money to get AP and make the rates terrible, and of course we're not gonna have a safety net. Like they have no regard to keeping the player base happy to make profit, right? They're all about just incentivizing the player to have to spend money to do anything, right? And that generally in this day and age doesn't work. I hope what Nasu does is I don't know how much power he has. It's you know, we don't know what their contract is. You know, we know Type Moon is obviously a big part of the deal, and you know they pick the writers, they get to pick the artists. They own all rights to characters that are made for Fgo, and they can use them in any of their own works at any time. Right? They own all the rights there, and clearly they listen to Type Moon, because a lot of, even though they fight against it sometimes, a lot of the ideas that Type Moon puts forward, they ultimately put in the game. You know, it was Type Moon's idea to lower the AP regeneration period and make summoning costs less, and you know, having a login system, and a lot of those things were, and adding boss fights. Those were all Type Moon's ideas. So they do listen to them, but it's not really clear who has the final say with a lot of that stuff, like and like where exactly where the buck stops. So it might be where only like Nasu himself is able to, like, if he's not doing it, you know, it's just going to go to, you know, someone from Aniplex, right? He may not have the power, because basically it could be, I hope this isn't the case, but it could be kind of like the situation you see with Smash and Sakurai, I think is his name, where because Nintendo owns the IP, Nintendo trusts Sakurai to make it, and they're happy if Sakurai just keeps making Smash forever. But Sakurai wants to do other things, but Sakurai knows if he doesn't make Smash, Nintendo is going to give it to somebody else, and that somebody else might run it into the fucking ground. And so he's like, if it has to continue being made, I want to be the one to make it, right? Which is understandable. Now, hopefully Nasu's not in that situation, and hopefully Type Moon has the ability to be like, okay, we're stepping back a bit, and we're not going to be involved as much, but we're putting this guy in charge, right? And then, you know, and that's that. But they may not have that say. Maybe it might be Aniplex trusts Nasu and Type Moon, but if they step back, then Aniplex is going to put someone else in charge that's completely up to them, not up to Type Moon. And that may be why Nasu's been so reluctant to take a step back when he was literally saying he was going to take a step back, and then the next interview was like, oh yeah, I'm writing the outline for 3.0, right? So he's clearly seems to be in a similar, either it could be he's almost in the exact same situation as Sakurai from Smash, or he does have the ability to put someone else in charge. He just doesn't want to, right? He may have, and that's, I understand that to a degree too. You know, it's his creation, it's his IP. He cares a lot about it, and he may not, even if he has the in the contract or whatever, maybe he has the ability to put someone else in charge. He doesn't want to, right? So it's hard to say what's going on there. Well, we do know that the main story for 3.0 is still going to be partially written by Natsu and overseen by it. Now, you know, how that pans out, we'll just have to see. But it's not like Type Moon's evaporating. And also, I gotta be clear, I don't think Natsu is the holy grail of writing by any means. However, I do think he cares, even if I don't always like his writing style, I would never think to question his care for the IP, right? He obviously loves his IPs, and he cares about the things that he makes. But yeah, it's not like there aren't other writers that can do a good job, and we already know that because, you know, Natsu has allowed a lot of other people to write Fate stories, and many of which, in my eyes, are better than Fate Stay Night and Fate Hollow and all that anyway. Like, I think Fate Zero is better, I think Fate Strange Fake is better, and that kind of thing. So it's not like you can't have other writers deal with the Fate IP and not do a good job. I mean, there's loads of good of Fate content out there that wasn't written by Type Moon directly. But there's also a lot of trash too, so, you know, the nightmare is it, like, I think if Nasu can pick the people to be in charge, I think it'll be fine. Because he knows plenty of other people that know what they're doing. If he can't, and it's up to Aniplex, then it's probably fucked. Like, truly, if Nasu backing off means Aniplex is, like, completely in charge, we're fucked. We are so fucked. Aniplex is a bunch of morons, so... I like Nasu's character writing quite a bit, actually. I think Nasu really does have a knack for making three-dimensional characters that there's more to them than just, like, the surface level, like, gimmick, and they're not just servicing the plot, right? Now, sometimes their role in the story might just be servicing the plot, sure, but, like, he always fleshes his characters out and gives them, you know, their own wants and fears and that are reasonable and make sense. There's always more to them than just, oh, I'm a stereotypical tsundere or whatever, right? You know, he makes fleshed out characters, and I think he's very good at that. I do not think he's particularly good at making an overall story, because he favors character writing so much, and he said this, he makes his stories to show off the characters, right? What he cares about is the characters, and he contrives the story to kind of maneuver them where he wants them to be, right? And that's fine. It's just, I don't really like that kind of storytelling, and it makes... You get a lot of stuff like Fate Last Encore, right? Where you have just nonsense happening that doesn't make any fucking sense to make sure the right characters go in the right places, and, you know, I don't care for that kind of thing. But that's subjective, and I still think his characters are great, so... Because, like, even Nero, who I don't like, I still think is designed well, right? There's a, you know, now the user nowadays is just an Umu bot, but, like, in Fate Extra, when you look about, like, what the character's about, and, you know, it's a lot more, it's not just a surface level thing, there's, you know, plenty of character there. I don't like the character, but there's plenty of it, right? And it's fleshed out. The Lost Encore, though, it's a mess. It's not too surprising, though, when you look at what Nasu's history is. The anime format doesn't really fit his writing style very well, and he doesn't have any experience with it either. Like, sure, maybe moving forward he'll get better at it, and maybe he'll, why does Jack have less health this time? Can Beowulf do 98k if he doesn't have a Buster card? Let's find out. This song's so good, man. Everyone was really hyping the music for the event that was in Arknights just the other day, and it was good. I liked it, but I gotta say I like a lot of the base game music more than the music that was in that event. Like, well, nope, Beowulf did not make a good job on there. The thing is, K&K is good, but K&K is a very different format than what an anime is. It's extremely different. Writing a book like that is very different than directing in an anime. And I truly do not think the format of, like, a shorter anime, it's linear and all those things, just does not lend itself very well to Nasu's writing style. Now, a good adapter, because you know the K&K anime is fine for the most part, but it's not. Nasu didn't make it, right? He did the writing part for the original story, but then you know the adapting it to the screen was not handled by him at all. And so that's an important detail. Like there's just such a difference between like books and visual novels versus the visual storytelling and stuff of anime, which is also generally a lot shorter and has a lot less detail. I really do think he was really mismatched for that anime. I think that's part of why it's such a goddamn... Oh, that's why she had less health, because she wasn't the primary boss. Boy, I could see this boss being a bitch on a new account, man. If you're not cheesing things and you're not summoning a support to carry your ass, this is a... That's a stat line between these two waves, and their classes are so fucked that, yeah, I could definitely see this stage being a bit of an issue. K&K is probably my favorite. K&K does not have my favorite characters in it. Not that, I mean, the characters are fine. I like the characters in K&K plenty. But my favorite Time Moon characters are definitely in Fate. But my favorite Time Moon story is definitely K&K. It's not even close, to be honest. It's just, it's I think by far the most, and the thing is, it was able to do what the writer wanted to do a lot better, right? Because it's a lot more focused. Like the premise works really well. It's so easy for K&K to be a character-driven story. It is so easy for that to happen with what they have, right? And yeah, really, I think K&K is definitely their best. You know, I do like the characters a lot, and I think you know they don't have to. For an example, you want to know how you run K&K? Put Gilgamesh in it, right? Probably gonna be really bad now. I mean it like that, but because K&K is not dealing with, you know, that side of the universe at all, really, and just the setting of it and how they can skip a lot of time between the major stories and kind of pick up when they want to focus on, you know, and you know, it's not like there's no like contrived nonsense to make something happen every 3 seconds, right? They don't have that, and they, you know, it can take its time a lot better, and it's really easy to kind of just focus on Shiki and what she's, you know, doing and blah blah blah. But yeah, if you seriously take K&K, but now change it so Shiki's a master and the Grail spawning, and now they're like, no, like that would ruin like seriously. Put Shiki in Fate Stay Night, and like you've never seen anything of Shiki before, and it would suck, right? The format that they needed to show Shiki's character and show the supporting cast and explore the antagonists and everything works because the story structure is not like Fate Stay Night, for God's sakes. If you tried to make it like Fate Stay Night, it would be awful. Like, I truly do not, like, I will say Shiki's an awesome character, and seeing her in Fate Stay Night, like, that setting might be fun to a degree, but by no means do I think it would overall then be a better story than K&K was, right? Because a lot of the issues with Fate really do come with, like, how contrived they have to be, with, like, who goes where and does what, and what beats what, and it's so much shorter, like, everything's a lot more rushed. You know, it just... You know, K&K works so much smoother. Like, it works so much fucking smoother. And yeah, you put Gilgamesh in K&K, and it's all over, man. Like, you've ruined everything. So yeah, K&K is definitely the best Time Moon story in my opinion. Even though, like, subjectively, I don't. Okay, so the premise of Fate is just awesome. I love the premise of Fate, right? And because I love history, and seeing anime history is really fun, and having the potential of, you know, Blackbeard fighting King Arthur is awesome, although that didn't really pan out with what we got, but, you know, you get what I'm saying, right? Excuse me. Anyway, and, you know, the abilities are cool, and it pulls from a lot of, like, D&D stuff, which is really interesting, and there's a lot of characters that were made for Fate that I love, like Ku, and Gilgamesh, and Kojiro, and Kozuki, and all this stuff. But, you know, K&K is just a way more complete package, right? You know, I still like the characters a lot, and it's just, you know, it doesn't have so much, like, horse shit, you know, plot devices and you know what's weird? I remember there was this guy on Reddit, I think it was Reddit anyway, it was a while ago, but word gets out that I don't think Fate Stay Night is the holy grail of storytelling, which I don't think that's a very controversial thing to say, right? I think it's a pretty safe thing to say, right? If you get pretty analytical about Fate Stay Night, you know, it's got some serious problems. Certainly some cool things about it too, but it's got some pretty serious problems. But yeah, I remember there was this guy going on about Green Man, you know, being a piece of shit because he thinks Fate Stay Night, like, wow, this guy doesn't think Fate Stay Night's the best story ever told. And somehow that got translated to I also think K&K is bad, which I'm really confused by because as far as I'm aware, I don't think I've ever badmouthed K&K ever. You know, I'm sure I pointed out some individual instances, oh, that part's a little wonky and, or that, you know, I don't like that character or whatever, but like, I don't think I have ever badmouthed K&K ever. Like, ever. But yeah, I remember people were acting like I hate Fate Stay Night and K&K, and I was like, I don't... And I don't know, maybe I said some weird thing once that I've taken out of context, maybe it doesn't look like I don't like K&K, but I truly do not, I pretty much always am like, yeah, K&K, you know, Time Moon's got some issues sometimes, but K&K is really good. I pretty much always say that. Gilgamesh can work as a main character in a non-traditional story, and you have that in CCC, and it's fine. But the thing is, if generally Gil's an antagonist, and so if you had Gilgamesh in K&K as an antagonist against Shiki, you're gonna have to bullshit so much stuff to make this work, and that's bad, and then it's gonna be really unnatural feeling, and it's not good. Obviously, you can put Gilgamesh in stories and have it be totally fine, and that's happened before. He's in CCC, and it's no big deal. But it's you have to be very careful with it. And what I'm getting at is I don't think they were very careful with how they used Gilgamesh in a lot of Fate stuff. That's the thing. It's not that Gilgamesh is a bad character. It's not that having an overpowered character and things like that is necessarily a problem. But you have to be very careful with it, and they weren't. Like, not at all. And so there's so much bullshit contrivance to move the plot around where they want it to be. It's just dumb. Like, it's just dumb, and it was just, you know, it wasn't thought out very well the way they set some of that stuff up. That's one reason why I hope Proto-Gil ends up being a bit more reasonable, so they don't have to be so nonsensical with the prototype stuff, but we'll see. I'm kind of worried. Everyone always assumes, and I'm in this camp generally as well, and I've done this too, where most people kind of assume, yeah, Proto-Gil's strong, but yeah, certainly not as strong as regular Gil, you know, hasn't been shown to do all this crazy nonsense. I was like, yeah, he's strong, but not, you know, it's reasonable, right? But a lot of that could just be because they haven't detailed Proto-Gil that much, right? You know, they talked about him a decent amount in his character material book, but it's not like we're like, yeah, this is definitive kit. There's plenty of stuff they could have just not mentioned. I mean, obviously, there's stuff they were clearly not mentioning, right? Everyone's like, oh, but his NP's not as broken as Aya. But we don't, that's just A NP. Just watch. They're gonna add Proto-Gil to Fgo or something, right? And then, you know, they'll be all like, oh, look, I got the water thing. And he's like, and anyway, I also have Aya. Like, that could totally happen. You know, we could get a bio for Proto-Gil that's like, he has 2 Ayas, right? Or he's got, you know, like, God knows what they could come up with Proto-Gil. So even though right now he seems like a very powerful servant, but is reasonable, and you don't have to be too ridiculous in how you use him in a story, that could change in a flash, right? So, you know, we'll just have to, I am so wary that they're going to be like, oh, but everyone likes Gil, and Gil's really strong, and so we're doing this other Gil. We got, you know, and Arthur's super OP and everything, so we got to make this Gil even more ridiculous. Like, I could totally see them doing that. It's like, you thought it was going to be 4-star Proto-Gil. It's 5-star Proto-Gil, boys, and we're giving him all the bullshit, right? Like, just... Because I remember for the longest time, everyone was like, yeah, I bet you they're going to add a 4-star Proto-Gil because, you know, he's a bit more reasonable than Gil, and you know, yada yada. I see that clip. But yes, I at this point, they could just, 6-star Proto-Gil. Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens with Prototype, though. I love the Prototype universe for the most part. I don't like some of the newer stuff that they've added onto it, but all the original stuff I really like, and I'm excited to see if we get an anime someday, or if we get a collab event, or whatever. Like, I want to see more Prototype stuff. I want to see more of Proto-Gil, even though it may turn out very badly. Proto-Gil has the Death Star, yeah, but it's golden. Because you know they're gonna have, like, some interaction in some event at some point between Gil and Proto-Gil. Oh boy. I want them to make Prototype, though, not Fragments. I especially want them to make Prototype. Okay, here's the thing. Fragments is fine, and I want to see Fragments too. And, you know, it's got Jekyll and Hyde in it and all that, and Ozzy and stuff. But the thing is, Fragments is a prequel, and there is a it is not the same. There is a big difference, and I really hope people understand this. There is a difference between a prequel versus the story that comes first. It's not the same thing, right? A prequel is canonic, it's chronologically it comes before something, right? But it's not intended to be seen first, and that's rather important. Very much so with Fate Zero, and definitely with Fragments and Prototype. And like, for example, if you watch, because K&K is not shown chronologically, right? It has prequels, if you will. Like the story earliest in the timeline is not the first one that you see. If you watch K&K chronologically, I do not think that's the right way to watch it at all. And I think Fragments is very much in that camp. There's a lot of stuff that you learn in Fragments that explain things like, oh, right, it's like the whole thing, and it also spoils certain things in regular Prototype and stuff. So I really would prefer they just, because Prototype was made first, right? So I think they should make Prototype first, right? That is the center of the Prototype universe, is Fate Prototype. Surprise, surprise, right? And then Fragments is a expansion on it and fleshing out certain aspects of it. And adding on to it. It's not a good foundation. It's just not. Now, again, I like Fragments just fine, and I totally want to see, Jekyll and Hyde and all that nonsense and Aussie stuff, and I'm totally game for these things. But I absolutely want to see regular Prototype first. I hate the idea of them doing it chronologically when it does not make sense. I think though they might do Fragments first because it's the thing people are more familiar with. Because Fragments is like full story. There's a complete book of Fate Prototype, Silver Fragments or Silver Sky horseshit or whatever it's called. Beginning, middle, and end, it's all there and done, right? So first off, from an adaptation standpoint, very easy to just, make the damn thing because it's already there. Whereas Prototype, Nasu would have to get off his ass and actually finish Prototype because although Prototype is Prototype's a weird thing, right? We have a prequel story to a story that doesn't exist. It's like, how did this happen? But yeah, so we need Prototype to get, fully made. If they were, I don't know, maybe they would make an anime of it even though the thing it's based on is not finished. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Prototype moving forward. But I do expect there to be a Fragments anime first. I do think that's going to happen. Which sucks because, okay, now never mind the whole prequel, sequel, original, chronological, never mind any of that. Subjectively, I definitely want to see Prototype more as well because Prototype has Proto-Gilgamesh in it, it has Proto-Lancer, Ku in it, and Perseus, right? I really want to see those things. I want to see those things a lot more than any of the things in Fragments. Obviously, I do like Jekyll and Hyde a lot, and any Arthur is good. That's an Aussie's good. But yeah, I really want to see Proto-Ku. I want to see what the fuck happens. Right, there's so many cliffhangers, right? Like what happens with Proto-Ku versus Arthur Alter and Proto-Herc, and what happens to Proto-Gilgamesh and that. Like there's a lot of stuff that I really want to know what happens, and I just want to see Proto-Ku's awesome, man. Who doesn't like Proto-Ku, man? Look at that fucking design. Also, it might get Proto-Ku an animation update, where Fragments not necessarily. So. Proto-Ku indeed. I will say though, seeing Fragments first will definitely make Proto-Ku's master look less stupid. She'll still look stupid, and I definitely think they're gonna. I would be surprised if they did not retcon her to at least some degree. I mean, the main story beats I'm sure will stay the same. She's still going to be really untrusting of her servant, no matter who the servant is. She's still going to be sexist. She's probably still going to steal Bolg and all this dumb shit. But they can probably make it less dumb, right? Because it's pretty dumb as it was. So. Yeah, Shakespeare is one of the few APOC servants that hasn't gotten updated yet. Hopefully that changes. The thing is, they're not gonna do that, Arjuna, because that's like the point, right? It's supposed to be a flaw, right? That's because she is making a mistake, and that's supposed to be the case, right? Because that is so intentional. Is like Ku was not going to betray her, of course not. She was rather lucky to get a servant like Ku, but she's so like traumatized that she can't. She's not being logical. That's the thing. She's not making a good plan. She's knee-jerk reacting to what Hohenheim did and everything, right? Now, in the original, clearly Nasu intended that she had trauma and that kind of thing. I don't think he knew that. I don't think he planned that it was going to be Hohenheim specifically and all that kind of stuff. She obviously had ties to the older war and that kind of stuff. But it being Hohenheim specifically is something that was flushed out, later with fragments. But she's supposed to be making mistakes and. She's not supposed to be treating Ku well, right? That's the point. The negotiations are supposed to break down between them. But the way it was portrayed in the OVA and then more importantly the character material book, it's just dumb, right? It's just like she's being so ridiculous and she's being so absurd that it's not really believable. Like even if she has trauma and she's very distrusting of people because of Hohenheim and everything. I don't buy that she would, it's like, for example, it's one thing to not trust your servant and be afraid. I totally buy that she would be like afraid of her servant betraying her, right? That makes complete sense. For those that don't know, spoilers by the way, but in when she's a kitty, her father summons Hohenheim, right? And Hohenheim like really befriends her and she loves daddy a lot and everything. But Hohenheim is manipulating her this whole time, and he basically puts a curse inside of her that's going to kill her, and he uses that to blackmail her father, and then he ends up betraying and brutally getting her father murdered, and her father's not able to save her, so she still has the curse, and he basically just says, yeah, fuck you, it was all a lie, Magus power, I'm out, lates, right? That's pretty much what, and she's a kid, right? Not great. So she very much distrusts servants, and especially men, but she very much distrusts servants, and so she doesn't trust Ku in the slightest. And she straight up, on the surface, the reason she says she seals Bolg is because it's unelegant, and it's not, that's not an elegant way to kill people or some bullshit. But she's lying, and it's actually because she's just afraid that Ku is going to betray her and murder her. Which again, I can buy that. What I do not buy is, okay, master doesn't trust servant even though has servant that should be trustworthy. Totally can buy this. I do not buy that they then seal their servant's noble phantasm and then actively send their servant out to engage other servants before even knowing what the ability of the other servants is. By the way, the first servant Ku runs into is fucking Gilgamesh, and it's like, without plot, he's dead. Like, great, there you go, you lost the war, it's over. Okay, GG. The second servant he runs into, it could be someone else because, there's some gaps in prototype. But the second servant he runs into is Arthur, most likely, and that's also not a good time. So he's fighting thankfully, Gilgamesh had no interest in fighting Ku, and he just chatted and he left. But if Gil had wanted to kill Ku, he would have fucking murdered him there. Arthur, big problem. And so yeah, he ran into Gilgamesh and Arthur with a fucking wooden stick. And his master actively told him to seek out other servants. It's like, that is so dumb, and the only reason that doesn't instantly backfire and result in complete calamity for them is because the plot says so. That's the only reason Proto-Ku survives not having his NP while being actively sent after, really powerful servants is just the plot. That's the only fucking reason, right? That is so dumb. That is just unbearably stupid. And she just makes so many bad decisions, and then she's like, she literally just dies to her curse because she goes too slow and then turns into a zombie, and that's that. But yeah, I think they're gonna change it because one, she's popular, and she'll be certainly more popular when more people know who the fuck she is, and she's so dumb it's like painful. So yeah, I definitely think they're gonna do some retcon in there. Like, I don't think they need to change it so she has a reason to just trust Ku. Like, I think the trauma is just fine. It's the way she behaves needs to be different, right? Like, her actions taken need to be different, because even if I totally fine to not trust the servant, right? That's fine. That can be a good plot point and everything, but yeah, holy shit, that's just silly. Yeah, after she dies, Protoku joins what's her name, Ayake, or however you say her name, and then she lost Arthur, 10 out of 10 master, by the way. But yeah, she lost Arthur, and now he's Arthur Alter. So yeah, they have to team up to try to rectify the situation. And what happens after that is not known. Most likely Arthur gets de-altered, though I don't think it's going to work like it does in Fate Stay Night. I'm pretty sure, because how is he going to have a showdown with the Beast at the end if he's Arthur Alter, right? That's there's no routes, there's only the one story. So, and everything, the way they set it up, it's just kind of obvious. I think what's going to happen is Protoku is going to have to sacrifice himself to allow them to de-alter Arthur and kill his zombie-ified master. So he'll sacrifice himself because they're not going to have Arthur come back to the protagonist side and have Protoku be the third wheel. They're not going to do that, right? They're obviously like, okay, time to tie up loose ends and get rid of Protoku now. And besides, Protoku has to die, you know, because we know later in the story the last two servants are Gilgamesh and Arthur. We know that's the case. So that Protoku must die at some point, right? Like that has to happen. Every servant but Arthur must die because we know at the end it's, you know, the beast gets materialized and it needs all the servants to die for that to happen. So Protoku absolutely must die at some point, and I think it's clear, it's not like he's going to die later on with Arthur on his side and he die to some other thing. Like, it's obvious that I think he's going to fight, because it says he fights Hercules and Arthur at the same time, but it doesn't say, like, the outcome. I think it's kind of obvious he dies there, but he, like, you know, buys time or whatever, and then Arthur goes back to normal, and then, you know, Gilgamesh nonsense, and that's that. Maybe Hercules dies in that part, though. They say that Proto-Gil is supposed to be the one that kills Arthur, and this is something that is not clear. Some people have said it's like Gil kills Hercules after fighting Arthur, like in the OVA, but other people say it's before, and I kind of suspect it is before. I kind of think you're gonna the Arthur versus Gil at the end there is probably like right before the beast gets summoned, and they're the only two servants left alive. And, you know, the big climax there rolls into Beastie Boy showing up. So I suspect that at that point, Hercules is already dead. So who knows? Maybe it's like, you know, Arthur versus, and Hercules versus Proto-Ku. That gets rid of maybe some of Herc's, it's not really lives. It's really weird in Prototype. Anyway, but then later, then, you know, Gil comes in and kills them, or kills Hercules. And then Arthur and Gil fight, and then that's that, then Beastie stuff. But yeah, who knows? I hope we get to see someday, because Prototype storyline sounds awesome. Yeah, we have no idea what the ultimate fate with Perseus is. Obviously gonna die too, but Arthur Alter's not like the entire basis of Fate Stay Night Gil, but they took certain aspects of it. Because they were gonna have Arthur when he was altered, he was going to kind of represent the Tyrant King type archetype, right? He was going to, you know, be very selfish and egotistical and that kind of thing. So definitely we're going to have some similarities there. Basically, Gilgamesh in Fate Stay Night is a mixture of Proto-Gilgamesh and Arthur Alter, and then just original stuff, right? That and the actual legend, clearly. But yeah, Proto-Gil and regular Gil are pretty different. You know, they definitely have some similarities, but they are quite different. I really like Proto-Gil, though. Everything they've shown of him, I really like, because he's very cocky and confident, but he's not so reckless about it, right? Like, he's very confident in himself, and he very much wants to prove that he's the best and that kind of thing. But he's a lot more reasonable and a bit more dialed back, and he's not out to do, like, a lot of damage to, you know, like, the world or anything. So it's just very different kind of character, so he's more reasonable, if that makes any sense. He has more in common with Fate Zero Gil, though, I suppose, because Fate Zero Gil, you know, hasn't been dunked by the curse and all that yet. But even then, though, you know, even when like regular Gil is in like CCC and Fate Strange Fake and stuff, where he's, you know, not as bananas, you know, he's still so you know, just over the top ego, right? Proto-Gil, the way he's been shown, is just not, I don't know how to describe it. Like, he is egotistical, but it's just way more reined in, I guess. I mean, regular Gil actually does beat Shiro in Unlimited Blade Works in most timelines. It's just the one that he doesn't. That's what Nasu says. Like, overwhelmingly, generally, Shiro ends up dead when he fights Gilgamesh. People really forget that fact. Like, overwhelmingly, Shiro dies to Gilgamesh. That was like the miracle timeline. But, so really, it's like, you know, Gil wins almost 99 out of 100 or whatever versus Shiro. That might be the same for Proto Gil, right? But I mean, I don't know, maybe Proto Gil wins 100 out of 100 because he just wouldn't be so cocky about it. The thing about Gil versus Shiro, though, is even though Nasu said it's like just the miracle timeline, it's still unbelievable. Like, it only really happens because of plot armor. So if there's no plot armor, I don't see a world where Shiro beats Gil or Proto Gil. Continuum shift moment. Yeah, that's a lot of that in Fates of the Night, to be honest. But yeah, Proto Gil's cool, and I like his design, I like his voice actor. I want to see more of his abilities and stuff, so I really hope we get to see him in an anime or an Fgo or whatever. I'm kind of surprised they haven't added him yet, but I feel like it's because Nasu's either unsure what he wants to do with Prototype, or he has plans with it and he doesn't want Fgo getting in the way of it right now, so... But yeah, him being unsure wouldn't surprise me either, and like, they're okay with Arthur, because Arthur's already more fleshed out and known anyway. I should have given the attack up to, the bull. Probably could have killed all three here if I had set this up a little bit better. I think Asterios is going to get an animation update. It's just when. I mean, they've said that they intend to update all of the old, you know, day one characters. They said that a long time ago, and they're steadily going about that. A lot slower than we might like, but so he's getting one. Like, that's just he's getting one. Now, if it's a good one, it's up in the air, and if it's soon is up in the air, you know, he might be the last one. He could be the last day one unit to get an animation update. Whoever the last one is, it's going to be a while. When you look at the rate that they put them out, whoever is the unlucky bastard, you know, they're going to have a bit of a wait. Now, they're speeding up a bit. I will say they have been speeding that up a bit, so it may not be as long of a wait as it might have seemed before, but yep. All right, chat. Who do you think is going to be the last one? Like, who do you think is going to be out of the day one servants, or let's say like the first few months, right? Because like David isn't a day one servant, but I mean he basically is, right? So out of the people that are like essentially day one, you know, close enough, who do you think is going to be the last one? A lot of people saying Blood Axe. A lot of people saying Blood Axe there. I could definitely see that. You know, Phantom. These are all picks that I think are completely reasonable. I'm on the same boat. Sanson, you know, Sanson, Phantom, Blood Axe. Those are definitely the ones that I feel like are have bad chances. I will say it is looking bad for Sanson because he's missed so many chances. He's been in the story so many times. He's been in a major event so many times, and he just never gets one. However, they might feel like they owe him because of that. And like, every once in a while, normally the animation updates come with them being relevant. You know, Ushi got it when she was relevant in a major event, right? That's very normal. That's very normal how they do it. But they do every once in a while just update things, you know, after the fact or just kind of out of the blue, like with Fionn and Caligula, right? And I think Caligula, they wanted to update him with Lost Belt 5, it just didn't work out for the time and stuff. And so that may have happened with Sanson, and maybe he just gets one of those random ones like Caligula does. However, the odds of that happening aren't really any better than anyone else getting an early animation update. So I do think it does make a lot of sense to think Sanson is going to be one of the final ones, which is unfortunate because Sanson is one. Fucking Christ, man! I love animation updates and all that, and I'm, you know, always like characters looking better. But look at this game! When they started doing animation updates, who do you think I cared about the most to get animation updates, right? Because ain't none of them gotten animation updates yet, right? Like Ku did, but Ku got one of the earliest ones, so it wasn't very good, and he kind of needs another one to be on par with what we're getting these days. So, because yeah, he's got one of the, nowadays he's pretty behind. So, yeah, it was Ku, Billy, Sanson, Darius, and Jekyll and Hyde. Ain't none of these things. And Protoku, yeah, and then Protoku. Mordred was up there, but she wasn't nearly as up there because I just really love my 3 stars, and her animations were better anyway. Not amazing, but they were definitely better. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of those characters I just listed. And yeah, those are always the ones that I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for them to get a nice, fancy animation update, and they don't. That doesn't. Like, it's weird. I didn't even realize it until recently, but almost all the characters I'm like, come on, animation update. None of them have gotten one. Like, you know, Protoku not happening, Sansa not happening, Darius not happening, Jekyll and Hyde not happening, Billy not happening. I don't. Like, what the fuck, man? Those are the ones like I really want to get animation updates, and they're not. We're pretty far into the game now, and yeah, they've all dodged it. They've got protection from animation update apparently. Sanson just blows my fucking mind, dude. I was like, oh man, it was Salem. I was like, oh yeah, he's getting it. He's getting it. You know, Kojiro. You know, Kojiro got it one in Shimosa. So I'm like, yeah. Sanson getting one in Salem. Nope. Not at all. Dude, I cannot. It's whack, man. I mean, Sanson has been relevant so many times, a surprising amount of times, because he's not that popular. I mean, he's kind of popular, but he's not that popular. So it's surprising to me that he's been, you know, in events and stuff so much. But yeah, I can't believe he didn't get one with White Day too. Dude, when I was like, when he was in the opening, like the fancy opening, I'm like, but it was his old sprite. His old sprite was in the opening, so I'm like, well, he's not getting an animation update. Like, what the fuck, man? It just sucks, dude. Because, dude, Sanson is like my Fgo boy, right? Because he was I've said this before, but he was when I got into Fgo, right? I already knew about Billy and Darius being in it and stuff, and I liked them. And a lot of characters I like in Fgo are from APOC, or they're from Fate Zero, or what, you know, they're from something else. But Sanson was the first character that when I started playing Fgo, I didn't look at you know, because I knew that Edmund existed and, you know, Billy existed and that kind of thing. But I did not know Sanson was in Fgo. I had no idea. I'd never seen that. I hadn't looked into Fgo thoroughly enough. I was unaware that Sanson existed in Fgo. And when I was playing through Fgo, right, when I was in Orleans, he was the first. And I hadn't seen him on anyone's friends list yet, because, you know, I'd summoned people and seen their servants and stuff. So I was still completely unaware that he existed. So I saw him and I didn't know who he was, because, like, you know, Moon Runs, couldn't read his name. But I was kind of skimming through the story. I couldn't read it, but I was kind of skimming through the story, and I could kind of tell, you know, Lancelot was having a Vegeta moment, if you will, where, like, you know, he was on bad guy, and the bad guys wanted him to do X, but because he's crazy, he didn't want to do X, right? You could kind of pick up on that stuff happening, and, you know, I knew who Lancelot was, and I could tell he thought Joan of Arc was Artoria. Like, you can tell that, obviously. And Sanson was like the other bad guy, kind of hanging out with them, and you know, that's kind of a cool dynamic anyway. And I liked his design. I'm like, oh, so he was the first Fgo specific thing that I was introduced to through Fgo by playing Fgo, right? And then I know who Sanson is in history as well, after the fact. And you think I actually did a good job with him, and he has like fun references to the real thing and all that. So yeah, he was like the Fgo. He was the first like Fgo thing. And I was like, oh, who's that? That's cool. What's going on there? I want to get that guy, because I hadn't gotten him from FP yet or anything. And then when I did finally get him, like, oh yeah, I got him, yay, right? So Sanson's always really had a special place in my heart because of that, and also because I like how they represented him well. Like they got the whole he wanted to be a doctor thing, and his kind of duality with like being conflicted about you know, what side to side with and killing people and all this stuff, but, you know, justice and all that too, right? So, you know, they nailed it pretty well. They did a pretty good anime version of Sanson. Although I always say it's kind of weird that they have it be he's the one that killed Antoinette when he did not kill Antoinette. That's kind of odd. He killed the king, but he did not kill Antoinette. His son did, though, but they just straight up fused him with his son. Like, and him and his son had the same name, so I think that's why they was like, yeah, fuck it. Because he's actually supposed to be older at that point and stuff, and his son is supposed to be like at that age range and everything. So yeah, they kind of just fused him with his son, that's I guess fine. But yeah, it is kind of odd. But anyway, yeah, always been a big fan of Sanson, and yeah, he's always had terrible animations, and that's never changed. Even though I've so many times I thought it was going to happen, dude. So many times I'm like, oh, it's going to happen. And even if I only had like a little bit of hope, I was like, this could be it. and then it just keeps going. The years keep going, you know, the gray hairs keep coming, but Sanson is eternally shit, right? No buff, no animation update, although he did get buffed a long time ago. He was just still shit, so. They actually buffed him twice. He's just shit after both of the buffs, unfortunately. Artemis is, she's another one that got one of the oldest animation updates, so you can't really tell, right? At least Ku's sprite is okay. It's not like amazing, but it's decent. It's his animations that aren't all that good. His NP's fine though. I don't mind his NP. Wait, why did I use Beowulf skills? That's not right. That ain't good. Uh-oh. Yeah, her AU is very basic. Oh my god, Gil Sprite, yep, day one. I can't believe you all haven't gotten that animation update yet. It's ridiculous. And clearly autopilot. It's weird that I would have used it on wave 1, even if I was autopiloting. I like how the only attacked Beowulf. If Mozart was the final one to get an animation update out of the beginning people, that would be such a travesty because his potential is so high. He's another one of those. That is such a dumb reason, though, to not update someone because they reference it in an event. Because you're localizing. You can just change it. Make a different joke, stupid. It's just like how, what's that anime? Steins Gate, right? Obviously, in the original, there's like jokes about him trying to speak English, but in the when he's speaking English all the time, that doesn't work. So you have to tweak it a bit, but it's fine, and they actually did a good job with that, and it's no issue, right? Same thing. Like instead of BB mentioning that Robin got an animation update, show off your new animations, just have her say literally anything else, right? Like literally all she says, like right before the battle, she just tells Robin, yeah, show off those new animations, and that's it, right? Whoop-de-doo! Right, you can have her say any other, piece of shit thing to Robin there, and it's, just as good. You could probably make something better. So who cares, right? Like, God, that is such a... that seems more like an excuse for them not to do the work, right? Opposed to the actual reason, although I'm sure they're happy to have that excuse. So that's why they're using it. So, but if that is 100% not just like they're using it as an excuse, but it's the actual honest-to-God reason... that is just such a bad fucking reasoning. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So I hope that's not the case, because that... Oh, God. Saberhall Ultra actually did get another animation update. I think when she got her costume, they gave her another one. It wasn't like a full force one, but it's pretty good. They made the sprite look a lot better, and her attack animations were fine to begin with. So, basically, they changed the particle effects, and they changed the sprite, but the character rigging, right, like the rigging for how to move the paper mache around, right, is all the same. But overall, it's fine. I think she looks fine, the new particle effects look good, the animations weren't that bad to begin with, and then the sprite looks fine, so I don't, there's no big deal. I mean, though I haven't looked at it that carefully, I'd summon one right now if I had one to look at the animations, but yeah, Jolter, on the other hand, yeah, that one's a travesty. I hope they just cut the flag, just get rid of the flag in the costume. Just no flag in the costume, and if you need to have slightly different attacks that are more sword focused or flame focused, just do that, for God's sake. She is more than popular enough to justify having 2 animation sets. Like, she's a 5-star, she's ungodly popular, just make an animation set for the costume that doesn't use the flag. Like, because it looks so fucking stupid in that costume, and then especially because it's appearing and reappearing and disappearing for no reason. And it's just, I've always said this, the flag doesn't work well for Jolter anyway. It works fine for regular Joan of Arc, because she is only using the flag, so she's using both of her hands, and that works. right? Where Jolter, because they want to incorporate the sword, she's having to use it in one hand. So she's trying to use this giant-ass flagpole and a sword. It looks awkward and dumb. It looks as it sounds. Right? If you try to imagine someone in your head, right? Never mind Fgo, forget Fgo. Imagine someone in real life trying to carry a flagpole and fight with it in one hand and fight with a sword in the other, right? That sounds pretty awkward and dumb looking, which again is exactly what we got with Jolter, right? So I really hope they just stop doing that, especially in the costume, because you have her wearing more modern attire, but then waving the flag around, but it's appearing and disappearing nonstop. Just, oh, it's not good. It's not good. I can't believe they haven't updated Jolter, dude, because she's so popular. When was the last time she got a focused rate up, by the way? Like, no split rate up. When was the last time she got, like, a rate up? Because I figure if she hasn't gotten one in a long time, they might be more willing to do it because they'll be like, oh yeah, maybe we can get some sales off of it, right? If she hasn't been rated up in a long time and they rate her up with an animation update, they might, Wait, surely it hasn't been that long. Because that was a long time ago. Surely it hasn't been, that must have been something. I wonder, chat, if they've got some bullshit planned. Like maybe they've already decided, like with Ushi, it's obvious. I'm so glad I predicted this, because my god was I right. I called this one. I predicted that with Ushi, they had just decided, look, we've already got this event planned, 6 months down the road or whatever, or a main story, and Ushi's in it, so we'll do the animation update then. Even if her animation update was completed, they had decided to do it then, right? And then look, Little Big Tengu happened. They obviously, they planned events well in advance, they say that. So they had obviously known about Little Big Tengu a long time ago, and they clearly had just decided, oh, that's where Ushi's animation update's gonna be. Because Jolter's been out for so long, like, out of the loop, for so long, they may have decided, oh, we got this event, and that's just, Jolter's going to be a big thing again, and we'll do the rate up then, and we'll do the animation update then. Or she's going to be in Lost Belt, 6.9 X3, and that's what we'll do, right? So, it could be something like that. That would explain why it's been so long and why they haven't updated her. But who knows, maybe they're just out of their minds. Yeah, I remember I remember when they added the costume, I said I didn't think she was going to get an animation update for a long time because of the costume. I thought if they were going to add a costume, that's when they would have done the animation update. But because they added the costume and they didn't do the update, I was like, yeah, they're not doing an animation update anytime soon, because now they're going to have to they're not going to put all that work into the costume to just turn around and then update the costume, right? So yeah, that definitely is part of it, I'm sure. That's why they put it off, but they're still going to have to do it. Dante versus Dantes, let's go. Yeah, this is Star Force, Mega Man. And I kind of need to, I want to jump on my main account now and like do Saber Ultra versus the Dragon, and then we can look at our animations. I might take a break. This is boring what we're doing right now, so we might do that. I should do what I'm doing right now off stream, because this is pretty damn boring. Yeah, let's do that. I'll do beat this stage, and we'll go fight the dragon or something, and get Saber Ultra and see how her animations hold up. Dante would destroy Nero. That is such a funny sentence. That is such a funny sentence, which I'm pretty sure is why you said it. Wait, this is the only enemies? It's wave 1 of 1, and there's only 3 enemies. So this is it. Might say Nero is dead weight. Yeah, danger though. I again should have given it to Asterios, because Beowulf's gonna have no problem hitting the damage, where Asterios needs to do 7k, which he might be able to do if I gave him the extra attack buff, but probably gonna do like 6. Yep, I would have killed all 3 of those if I had given the attack buff to Asterios. So I thought about keeping Samsung decks running in case I wanted to switch back to my main, but I was like, nah, I won't do that. And then now I'm going back to my main, so now I gotta hook up decks again. Oh joy. Well, that stage gave 100,000 QP. That's surprising for such a joke stage. I didn't even one turn it. Can you believe that, Rex? Rex, people watch me. Rex, can you believe it? Like, people watch this stream, and I didn't one turn that joke battle. Actual fraud. Dude, I saw people on my Discord, and I saw some on YouTube and stuff. You know, apparently the Genshin community just now. They did though. I know for a fact the Genshin community did not just now discover, like, it's like the hit delay, right? You can like jump when you hit certain things at like the right angle and stuff, and you can do a plunge attack. And people acting like they're Devil May Cry now, and I'm like, and it's just like they're acting like it's like the most advanced tech ever, and they're acting like no one has ever figured this out before. I've seen streamers, I've literally seen streamers playing Genshin Impact that are just messing around trying to get plunging attacks to work when they're not supposed to, and I've seen them do that before. Like, I've literally seen that, and they call it like Dragon Strike now, which is stupid. Like, it's not even new. Like, it's not even new, and it's not unique to Genshin Impact. It reminds me of Smash, dude. In Smash Brothers, like, they'll discover tech in Smash, or but they'll come up with their own terminology, even though that stuff is in other fighting games. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, it's just, oh my god, dude. Like, just fan bases like that sometimes. You know, people trying to act like it's like this big discovery that, you know, and like, yeah, the community at large is just now knows about it, but it's not rare. Do you, like, are you kidding me? It's not rare for, like, using Smash as an example. It's not rare that you have some hardcore guy that plays, you know, he doesn't play like one fighting game. He's really hardcore about like fighting games in general. And they just, you know, they go down the list testing a lot of like normal stuff you see in these games, right? It's not rare that people try to mess around trying to like get plunge attacks in Genshin where you're not supposed to, right? The whole hit delay thing is not new. It's not new, right? And it's just weird. I'm so confused because, dude, this blows my mind. People acting like this is like just now been discovered, because I played Vandictus, right? Vandictus there was so much tech around hit delay, right? And it was also just such a thing where, like, yeah, when you're hitting something, the swing doesn't go as fast. This was such a known thing in Vandictus, right? And it's not even a Vandictus thing. You can find video essays. You can find video essays on YouTube of people talking about like hit delay and how like it can be a good thing or a bad thing and how it can add a sense of impact. There's this really small YouTuber that I follow that I actually forget how to say his name, feels bad, but he really likes Dark Souls games, and he likes fighting games, and he likes a lot of action games like Devil May Cry and that kind of thing. And he has a whole video talking about like how hit delay, and what it means is when you strike something, the strike goes slower than if it like, hit nothing, right? And how like some games don't have any hit delay, and that can affect like how impactful the swings feel. It makes them feel maybe a bit more floaty. And adding hit delay is like a double-edged sword, though. You got to be careful because it makes your character literally slower, right? Like in terms of the way the frames are progressing. But it can add feedback, right, to the user and things like that. Right, this is such a known thing! And yeah, in Vandictus, it was such a thing messing around with hit delay when you would hit things. And I remember just like so long ago when I was playing Genshin Impact, just so long ago, I noticed there was hit delay in Genshin, and that you could you could manipulate it and stuff, because I didn't even think it. It's like I was like, oh yeah, this game has hit delay. And I thought in my head, oh yeah, I remember that YouTuber talking about it. I remember that was in Vandictus. That's all I think about it, and I just move on with my life, right? I'm not like, oh wow, there's hit delay in this game, right? Just, you gotta, it's just so mind-blowing to me. But yeah, the Smash community does the same thing, where they'll discover tech in Smash, and it's just stupid shit that's been in fighting games forever. And they start making videos all clickbaity and acting like, you know, they call recovery frames lagged because, you know, they have recovery in their game. Oh my god, it's so dumb, dude. I always get a kick out of fan bases, though. It's, you know, because they always conflate. They act like, what happens with fan bases a lot is they conflate, like, the meta and the community that they're a part of with everyone ever. And they think they're the only thing that matters. And I love this because in the fighting game community, people get smacked for this all the time. The fighting game community is pretty tight-knit, and, you know, they'll get, like, really up their own ass, and they'll think they're the only people that are good at the game. And then they'll have a tournament, and some random guy from like Mexico or something just comes out of nowhere. No one's ever heard of him. He's never played, like, he doesn't go to even the online stuff. He's just been playing in his basement for the last 5 years. and you know he is ungodly amazing at the game, and he's had nothing to do with any of these people, you know, at all. Doesn't talk to them on Reddit, and just beats their ass. Just beats their fucking ass. I love that stuff, man, because it's like people just forget. They think that if it's not on Reddit, it's never been discovered. Reddit's the universe now. They don't realize there's all these hardcore people out there that have played video games their whole life, and they test and look through these things all the time, and it's just nothing to them. When a fighting game vet goes and plays a random game that's either a fighting game or similarities to fighting games, you know, they run down a lot of the basic tech anyway, and they just see if it's there or not. And they don't go running to Reddit, oh my god, this game has recovery frames. Like, what the fuck? Like, most games do, Einstein, right? Like, they don't even care. And then, meanwhile, Genshin thinks they've somehow discovered hit delay. It's like, okay, you know, great, GG. Anyway, that's my side tangent about fan bases having no idea what they're... But yeah, I love the fighting game community, though, just because that happens so often where... you know, they get like really up their own ass about thinking they're the only ones that, you know, if they discover it, they're the first one to ever discover it, where you generally have, you know, people in their mother's basements that, you know, have already figured that shit out a long time ago. What the fuck am I, oh, here we go, it's text, man, you gotta window capture, not screen capture, that's the trick. Always takes me so long to set up text too, especially if I'm talking, because it's so many clicks. You gotta do so many clicks to get it. What is wrong with my? Why? I'm still screen capturing. That's why. There we go. That's the one. Okay, I figured it out. Yeah, Smash though, God, I've always disliked like how they'll have the same tech as other fighting games and they'll name it something different. Like they're just trying to be a unique butterfly. I've always felt that so weird. Generally, like, popular fighting games have a large enough community that basically, this happens in almost every... Whenever there's a big fighting game, it's like popular, blah, blah, blah. Whoever breaks the news to Reddit and YouTube and stuff is almost never the first person to discover it. They're just either the first person to discover it that wants to talk about it, or they've got it from someone else and they're wanting to share it. But generally, a lot of fighting game tech is discovered but way before it comes out on YouTube and Reddit and stuff. It's just you have some pro that doesn't want to tell anybody because it's giving them an advantage. That is so normal. It's so fucking normal, and it's weird that a lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, it happens all the time where tech is discovered, no one fucking says a thing, but then eventually, or someone says something about it, but they have 5 viewers and it doesn't, you know, go anywhere. But you know, eventually the news breaks out, and then you know, then they act like that's where it comes from. But it normally isn't, and it's pretty standard, especially for larger games. Not for smaller games, not necessarily, because you may not, literally maybe no one else playing it. But for large games, there's just so many people that you know, you're basically just rediscovering things. And fighting games are just wild because a lot of fighting games are very complicated and so on and so forth. And there's a lot going on under the hood, and there's a lot to be learned. And so you do have these people. I mean, it happens, absolutely happens. You'll have people show up at tournaments that no one's seen before. They don't use the Reddits. They don't none of that stuff. And they know how to use a character like no one else does because like they've just researched it and they just figured it out. And they found like a non-meta character, but they found ways to use them that people are just so they have no idea about. Like this absolutely happens, right? Where you just have some random guy that, often in his mom's basement or his apartment or whatever, and he's just, he's found this character and he's found all kinds of tech for them that no one knew about, and they whoop some ass. It absolutely happens. Okay, Saber Altar, that was the one. That is the wrong menu. Oh, so yeah, Hector's here because I was messing around trying to do Hector and Darius instead of Hector and Ku and stuff and see if I could make that work. It didn't really, for the challenge quest, it didn't really work, but I didn't try it that much. I could probably make some variant of it work though, but Ku and Darius worked rather smoothly, but that's not too surprising because they're really good, and I use Grailed ones, so. Okay, do I have anyone on my friends list that has Saber Altar? I have Saber Altar, but mine is like like 444 or something. Let's look. And God knows what NP rank she is. She's probably just NP1, I would think. I know I have her, but I could not even tell you the last time I used her. Is my Santa alter 10-10-10? Oh no, this is NP rank. I thought I was looking at skill ranks. I was like, what? It's like, I don't use Santa alter much at all. So Izo NP4 feels bad, man. Alright, where is... There she is. Yeah, she's just NP1. So yeah, mine is not a good stick for this. Alright, let's see. I'll try to make some more room on my invites here. So if someone has Saber Alter, send me a thing here, and I'll show it off. But if not, we'll use mine, and then we'll just cry. Okay, they haven't logged on in a long time, so I'll nuke these invites. Hopefully that's enough room. Surely there's somebody out there that's got a decently upgraded Saber Alter. She's not too rare. Oh yeah, she could solo Lion King, definitely. It's pretty easy to solo Lion King as a Saber. It's a little tricky if you're AoE, right? It's a little tricky, but it's not too bad. She should be fine. You just use Atlas, Anniversary Blonde, because Guts is amazing there, and it's burst damage, and she works with the whole bursty Buster crit thing. I'd tell you, if she wasn't a Buster unit, if she was like an art unit, then she might be in for a bad time over a quick unit. But because she's Buster, and that works so well with Anniversary Blonde, that yeah, I think she'd be totally fine. We could try in a second, just to be sure. Now, mine would be pushing it. Mine might have a hard time against Lion King. Let's see if I can upgrade her skills painlessly. Probably not, because of QP. But I don't even know what her mats are. Watch it be hero proofs or some stupid crap. I never remember what her icon looks like, so I never see her. Well, these mats are easy. It's just, the QP. Okay, let's see if we can get to at least 666. Let's see if we can at least do that. We'll see how many Saber gems I've got. I mean, that's a lot more than my Lancer gems. It's mainly the QP. That's a lot of gems, and most of my Sabers I care about are 10-10-10. It's just I haven't been getting QP lately, so I need to start doing that. Doorman might be able to beat Lion King because he has so much guts. Damage output could be tough. We'll test that too. Maybe we'll fight Lion King now instead of Dragon. Especially because we don't have a good, we don't seem to have a good Saber Alter, so. If I had her NP2, I would be more okay with getting her to 10-10-10 because then I could, like, you know, mess around and actually test things and stuff. But at NP1, I feel like it's not a very good investment, so I'll stick to 666, thanks. Yeah, I'll do that in a second, Arjuna. We'll do that after Saber Alter. Let's try NP1 666 Saber Alter versus Lion King. She might have it. Yeah, there's no point in doing the dragon. That'll be embarrassing. But man, like in Genshin Impact, you would have to be so out of your mind not to notice the hit delay, especially on enemies with shields, right? And the fact that that affects the physics and everything, like that is not surprising. Like, holy crap. Because I remember like the first day of fighting dudes with shields, you're like, oh yeah, really exaggerated hit delay there. Like, and dude, I've done that on stream, where I've jumped when I'm hit delaying on a shield and you can plunge. I've done that, and people are acting like nobody knows about this. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Oh yeah, well, I just need George. What am I thinking? Dude, that one comment about the Genshin community being mature, dude. Oh my god. Now, I will say, though, I very much like my Genshin community for, like, my streams and stuff. It's, you know, pretty chill and nice, but the Genshin community as a whole is so bad, dude. And it's because it's so many people's first game, and because it's so popular, you got all those people that want them clickbaity views, right? there's so many people out trying to, you know, hustle on that game that it's just so much nonsense. Like, oh my god. I'll say this, I didn't know you could take advantage of it like to the extreme that people are taking advantage of it now by any means. I didn't know that. Of course, I didn't master it, but like I knew about it, and I know other people knew about it because I watched streamers that did it a long time ago, right? Like of course I didn't realize that you could do it to like the extreme that people are doing it now. Of course not. But people acting like we just now figured out that you could do plunge attacks when you're not supposed to be able to because of you know, hit delay and stuff. Like, that's nonsense. Like, of course we've known about that. Like, it wasn't like maybe a lot of people didn't know about it, and again, like, I had no idea it was that extreme. I really only realized it on like really extreme cases like shield enemies and stuff like that. I didn't realize you could do it against like almost anything ever and that kind of thing. Like, I had no idea, but you know, I wasn't like, wow, I had no idea this could happen. And also, it's not, again, it's not unique to Genshin Impact. It's not. Like, it's a pretty common thing in action games where not only is there hit delay, but there's a lot of times you can buffer inputs or you know, mess with the physics. Like in this case, it's messing with the physics. That's not, for God's sakes, that's not new. Like, for God's sakes. Like, and again, by all means, I don't have any problem with people putting a spotlight on it and a lot of people not knowing about it, right? But it's acting like that it's just now been discovered and stuff, or like it's unique to Genshin. And it's like, that's just objectively wrong, right? Like, that's just silly. And it's like, thinking that like none of this stuff could have been discovered by, you know, people independently just makes no fucking sense. Like, come on, dude. All right, emo or Toria time. Although that, you know what's, that's not correct at all, because emo, now obviously the meaning of emo has evolved and people don't use it this way anymore, but emo is supposed to mean emotional, right? It's just, it's short emotional. So it would be emotional or Toria, where Saber Alter is the, you know, way more flat, right, if you will, with that. So doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, more goth, there you go. But obviously emo is mostly used for goth now, which I guess is wrong, but you know, things evolve and that's just what it means now. So okay, I will say her sprite is definitely not the best I've ever seen. I mean, it's fine, it's totally fine, but that's not the best sprite ever. I should check out her non-costume one, because maybe the costume one's just bad. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's light years better than Jolter and everything. We'll do slow-mo to watch the animations here. Yeah, she is just small, but just like the detail on the face and stuff is not the best I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, her animations are fine. I mean, yeah, some of it's, you know, they're not doing a whole lot of animating and they're doing a whole lot of particle effects. But, you know, she is a 4-star, and that is kind of how Saber Alter is anyway. So it's not too bad. Imagine being brothers. So, you know, when people are just having fun and they got their own fan canon, that's fine, you know, it's just fantasy, it's for the fun anyway. But I do find it weird that some people, like, will seriously argue things from, like, you know, like, shipping characters in an anime or whatever. And I'm like, if you think that is evidence of like, a romantic relationship, it's like, have you never had a friend in your life? I'm like, because I've literally seen people, like, trying to ship, like, 2 characters or whatever, and the logic they go by is shit that, like, regular friends do all the time. Like, all the time. Like, if that's the case, then, like, man, I'm gay as hell because, you know, it's just weird, dude. Like, and you just see it all over the place. And sure, and in honesty, I guess, even in real life, it can sometimes be hard when you have close friends. Versus, you know, it can sometimes be difficult to tell if, because in public, some people aren't going to do a lot of public signs of affection, like, you know, kissing or something in public anyway, and not every couple is about that. And so, you know, yeah, but that, it's like skewed people's barometer, I guess. But anyway, it's just weird to me that you see people just literally being friends, or just being good friends, right? Because obviously there's a difference between, like, acquaintances and people you're friendly with, and then friends, and then close friends, right? There's a big difference. But, like, when you have close friends, it's not, like, it's not, you know, it's not weird that if you, like, actually care about the other person, or you know, looking out for their well-being, or you help them out, or you hang out. It's just normal. Like, Jesus Christ, right? Like, you're not, you're not, you know, French kissing here, right? Like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's just weird to me that, like, you see, like, literally anything, you know, two people being even remotely friends. Oh, shipped. They're an item now, and it's just like, okay, like, can we back this up a minute here? But again, I don't care if people just want to have, you know, their fun with fan fictions. It's not, you know, it's not my cup of tea, but I don't care. It's fine. You know, it's fantasy. It's not, you know, it's no big deal. But when people actually think like something's canonical when it's like it's based on nothing, I'm like, what the fuck? Hey, don't ship real people. That's creepy as fuck. That's crazy creepy. Okay. What is my plan right now? Let's see. So I need really big burst damage on the next health bar, but I still have to get through this health bar. I think I used the Mr. Code bust drop. Wait. Hold on. She's ranked 6. Let me look at this. I gotta not mess this up here. So yeah, her second skill has got the stars. So 50% on our wait, no, it's 40%. 40% on, okay, I'm gonna do the 60 from this one. Because we gotta break here. It is not good if we fail to break here. I love anti-ship memes though. Some of the anti-ship memes are pretty funny. 69k, oh that's not good. No, we got it. Underestimating our buster up there. These animations are fine. I mean, they're not 10 out of 10. You know, her sprite's not 10 out of 10, but it's fine. It's so far above average. It's totally fine. Wait, what are you talking about, Rex? I missed some context here. Okay, this turn is really... Why did she have to hit me so hard? I need to be able to... Oh god, I need to be able to... Guts next turn. Please, I need her to quick charge then. Saber's fashion. Saber alters fashion. I guess it depends. Let me think. I'm not crazy about either of their fashion, to be honest. I don't like the battle gown look. It's not my shtick. Again, it's not because it's unrealistic, you know, I mean, it is unrealistic, but, that doesn't bother me, you know, it's just fantasy, but it's not, I don't know, it's eh. So I don't like either of, like, the regular art, you know, look, too much. I would like Saber Alters more if it didn't have the red on it. That's just try hard. If it was just, like, the dark purple and then the black, that would be pretty good. I think that'd be pretty good. But the red is just way too try hard. I don't really like that. I don't know, maybe slightly better. And then for casual wear, I guess it's the suit. What is it, this versus the suit? I guess this is fine, but the suit wins that so hard. I mean, come on, like that's not even fair. Like suits are 10 out of 10, so yeah, for casual wear, if it's this thing versus the suit wins like 3 trillion%. The thing is, you're never getting the suit though. That's what you gotta understand, guys, is you are never getting the suit in Fgo. So, you know, at least Salter got her casual wear, so what are you gonna do with that? I don't really care about high-heeled armor for the same reason I don't care that, like, the swords are oversized, and the spears are oversized, and Leonidas is showing his chest off. I don't really care, right? What I care about is if it fits the goddamn character, right? Like, it's... People... it blows my mind that high heels get so much attention. Like, people just freak out and act like it's the dumbest thing ever. And I'm like, have you ever tried to use a sword that is balanced like clouds? It is a million times harder than moving around in fucking heels, right? that is just, it's stupid to me that people get so fixated on that and then they ignore like outrageous shoulder pads. Warcraft is over there with shoulder pads the size of Mercury, right? You've got, you know, people with no chest armor. You've got like axes that are just got like edges on edges on edges, and like it's so dumb. It is so dumb. What gets me, I always say this. This is completely my bar for like complaining or not. Right? So it's the same for shoes as it is for like axes, right? Okay, oversized axe or kind of, you know, got extra edges, you know, double-bladed axe. You know, double-bladed axes aren't real, by the way. And they're not practical at all. But so like, if you have a fantasy character wielding a double-bladed axe, it's a bit oversized, got extra edges that don't make any sense, right? That's okay, you know, it's fine. That's no big deal. As long as the game's not trying to be super authentic, you know, if it's fantasy, it's fine, no problem. But if he holds the axe by the blade and is trying to like effectively use the shaft as the weapon, and not as a joke, not as a meme, not as a parody, but and the universe takes that seriously, right? That's too far. That the line has been crossed. That's just too stupid. I'm all for fantasy being some, you know, style over substance to a degree. I'm all for, you know, having fun with it. Oh, I have an axe with an axe on an axe, you know, whatever. That's fine. But when it's that outrageous, it's just stupid. It's the same thing for shoes. I don't care if you want to have high heels and armor. I don't care. I care when it starts getting just so fucking stupid, right? Because you can move around in heels just like you could use an axe that's oversized. It's not practical by any fucking means. But when you have like shoes like fucking the Summer Hokusai or even Van Gogh, like that's just dumb. That's the same dumb shit as, you know, if Blood Axe was trying to use the axe the wrong way. It's just too dumb. It's not, because at that point it's not fantasy anymore. It's not about just style. It's not a style thing anymore. You're just trying to be silly. You're just trying to be, you know, outrageous. It's just dumb. Like, it's just stupid, right? Like nunchucks. Nunchucks are an incredibly impractical weapon. I don't think people even realize. If you want to know why nunchucks are dumb, go get a pair of nunchucks, right? And then go hit like a sandbag with it. Like, you know, put up a punching bag, you know, a training dummy, and take the nunchuck and hit it. Also wear protective gear because you're about to hurt yourself. It's like, they are really stupid, right? But I don't care if fantasy wants to have, you know, nunchucks that have like, you know, anime lightning coming out of them and you're doing all these, you know, Bruce Lee moves, and it's fantasy, it's fine. But again, if the nunchucks are now the size of the Empire State Building, right? The line has been crossed, right? It's too dumb at this point, unless it's parody. You know, if you're you can get away with a lot. Like Van Gogh's shoes, you could do in parody, right? Like that's okay. You try to do Van Gogh shoes and in a universe that's trying to take it seriously. I can't do that anymore. I'm telling you, the reason people get so uppity about high heels, but they don't get uppity about all the other stuff, is because they're morons and they don't actually know anything about. You don't have to be a genius to know that if you're in high heels, it's harder to move. You don't have to be a genius to know this, right? But they wouldn't know if a sword was poorly balanced. They wouldn't know if a sword was oversized. They wouldn't know why a double-bladed axe is completely stupid. They don't know why a flail is completely stupid. They don't know, like, they don't know, right? So they can the funny thing is, though, high heels actually were used in medieval time quite a lot, actually, in combat. Now, obviously, they weren't as extreme as, like, what you might see in a lot of, you know, fantasy or whatever, of course not. But there was a lot of practical reasons to have heeled boots and things like that. And some people exaggerated it just because they wanted to, and shit like that. People do a lot for, you know, like, God, some of the armor designs in medieval times too. Anyway, you know, but, you know, and again with axes, sometimes people would create axes that were kind of off meta, not exactly sensible and whatnot. They would do that. So yeah, I don't give a fuck if someone is wearing high heels in a goddamn fantasy story. And I don't care. Like, dude, I love axes. I love axes to death, right? And most axes in video games and stuff, they're not that practical, right? But it doesn't bother me. It's fine. It's just fantasy. It only bothers. I will say, there are some axe designs that just go, you know, way too overboard, and my disbelief cannot be dispensed of enough to be okay with some of the axe designs that I've seen. And Van Gogh's shoes definitely fall in that category. But like I said, what I care about when it comes, because Fate, I'm sorry, Fate is just not trying to be authentic to begin with, right? It's trying to be anime. But most of Fate is normally, you know, fairly down to earth. Nothing in Face Tonight was too ridiculous, other than maybe Ku. Ku was a bit. Oh boy. Rubber Man. Anyway, other than Ku, you know, most of Fate was, you know, fairly reasonable for, you know, an anime take on stuff. But it's always been very fantasy. You know, Saber's wearing an armored dress. I mean, come on. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you fucking kidding me? People get mad about, you know, high heels, but Saber's dress makes sense. Like, that's, you just, it's dumb. None of it makes sense, and it's okay as long as it's reasonable. When I guess I don't like it is when it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, when it doesn't fit the character. When you have a character, like Leonidas totally makes sense. Obviously running around with your chest bare and you know screaming at people is not the thing, right? That's not what actually Spartans did, but it, you know, it works for the character, it works for, you know, how he's designed, and he's supposed to be over the top, so it's okay. But if you had, what's an example, if you had, you know, what's a more down-to-earth guy, male character in this game? Let me think. I don't know, Black Bart? That's not quite right. I'm sure there's a better example than this, but I'm sure you get where I'm going with this. If you had a more Saberlot, thank you. There we go, Saberlot. That's such a good example. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So imagine if Saberlot had no shirt on, right? But he's got, like, you know, armored leggings, but no shirt at all, right? That just doesn't fit his vibe at all, right? But he still acts all serious, and he's all about the knightly stuff, and he's got the knight pose and all that. It just doesn't ring true. But Beowulf can pull it off, right? Beowulf is over there looking like a male stripper, but, you know, he can pull that works, right? Because, you know, he's, you know, not the honor knight bro, you know, he's way more reckless and just, you know, battle crazed and all these things. Although I will say Beowulf really does muddy the waters for me. I love Beowulf, I love his voice actor, I like his abilities, they references the actual legend a lot, and that's good. But his design is always kind of muddied the water for me, because the chaining his arms together is so dumb. It's not like he's not a prisoner. It's not like he broke out of jail or anything. That's so dumb, right? The chaining arms together is a lot stupider than, like, the healed armor and stuff. Like, not even close. At least high heel armor exists. Nobody chains their fucking arms together, right? Because again, you can't T-pose on the enemy. Like, obviously you can't go into battle with that. No one would do that, and no one chains their arms together, right? Because of that. That's the reason. But yeah, that's really crossing the line. And then yeah, the cargo pants. It's a little much, you know. I'm totally okay with Beowulf being all, you know, skinned out and reckless, and, you know, that's fine. But yeah, the pants with the chained arms together, you know, I still like Beowulf, and again, the voice actor carries, and the characterization is good, and the powers are good, so I like him. But I would certainly like him more if he didn't chain his fucking arms together, you know, and his pants didn't look so modern, right? That would have been better for me. But yeah, but Beowulf is a pass. I'm okay with Beowulf's design, right? But if you literally take Beowulf's design and put it on Lancelot, that's just that just doesn't work. That doesn't work at all, right? That would be terrible. By the way, I didn't play the game so long. Dex was all screensaver mode there. Okay, I don't even know what to do this turn. I guess I'm gonna hope she either does more damage to me than I would like, or quick charges into her NP. If she does not quick charge into her NP, I have to win next turn, which is not the most likely thing to happen. But every time there's a video game that has a character in high heels, male or female, honestly, there's always a lot of there's news articles being written and blah 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 blah, and then literally they'll show pictures from the game where someone's using, like, the sword of, you know, that's larger than themselves, and that's fine. That's fine. It's almost, and it is fine. It is fine to have a sword that's larger than yourself in a video game. It's fantasy, for God's sakes. It's okay. But it's so hypocritical and ridiculous to get mad at the one and then not mad at the other, right? It's nonsense. And it's two things. Like I said earlier, it's people that are dumb and they don't even realize that those other things are outrageous, or that it's outrage culture. They're trying to get mad about something. They're trying to, act like this is so ridiculous or whatever. No one should go into the battle without the ability to T-pose on their opponents. Such true words. Preach it, brother. All right. Well, this is not a good timeline. This is not a good timeline. We are so close to greatness, and yet so far. Look at this. We got 41 stars. We got our Buster up. We got 90% NP charge. Can't actually MP here. Let's try this again. Feels bad, man. I should give her command codes, but I'm lazy. But she's probably going to need the extra I think she can win though. I think if she double crits there and we impede on that turn and maybe we give her the command codes, she probably can win. She's pushing it though. I'm not sure she can without the command codes because we are 666 and everything, but yeah, she might. I think she can do it. This is not a hard fight to beat though as a Saber. It's just not, especially if you're Buster. If you're not Buster, it can be a little tricky, but you know, Anniversary Blonde is amazing for this fight, and then that benefits Busters. You know, they get a lot of meta out of it, so. Why do they commit to the whole Saber but worse bit? I know, they were uncreative with their buffs with the people here. The problem with the Gut CE is it would take you an extra turn to break the first health bar, so you're losing the turn that you're gaining. Now, unless you get lucky as fuck and you just get a lot of MP gain early on, like, it could work, right? If you do Gut CE and then you just get good hands at the beginning when your taunt walls are alive, then sure, it could work. And it might work more times than not, but it's not necessarily your best pick if you can win without it. Just to laugh now, let's use Arthur, because Arthur's so good for this now. She's not giant, you know, none of his niches come up here, but his 3-turn Buster up thing is, pretty good for this. I haven't used him since he got buffed, but yeah, I'm not worried about it working. They'll probably buff Saber Alter again. He's popular enough. I don't know what they'll do though. The problem with a lot of the Sabers is they don't have a lore justification for utility. Outside of maybe crit down. And so it's hard for them to, you know, they've kind of already covered all the bases with the things that they feel like they can do. Stars, crit, charge, you know, damage up. Other than unique buff types, which, you know, they do make unique buff types from time to time. Normally for new units though, not buffing units, so. Yeah, I want Arthur to get an MP buff. It's not so much because he needs it, it's because it would be cool, and he's got an EX ranked NP, and so on and so forth. By the way, chat, anyone here remember all the times I've said how, like, Arthur is surprisingly good for farming, especially recently? Because there's just been node after node after node at the end of events where you don't fight 3/3/3 enemies, and there's a lot of times there's large enemies, and a lot of times for some reason they're fucking Lancers, and I'm not kidding, it's just been over and over and over again. There's been these nodes that Arthur is just so good for. And oh look, this event's final node, you fight, I think 1, 2, 1. That's the enemies. The first wave is 1 enemy, the second wave is 2 enemies, the final wave is 1 or 2 enemies. No, it's 1, 2, 2, that's what it is. And there's a giant enemy in the middle, so you know, Arthur can kill it with his 3rd skill without his NP if you want to. Or just with his NP, either way. And then, you know, your crits and stuff are really good when you're fighting just a few enemies instead of 3. Like, yet again, Arthur is incredible for 3-turning that final node, and he was incredible for, like, the one in with Vertra, you know, that event. And there's, I mean, just so the Fate Requiem one. There's just one after one after one. It's so often Arthur has been so fucking good for these nodes, because the AoE NP is still good for, like, for the waves with 2 enemies in it if you need to use it, but then you can still punch out people with the big crits and stuff, because it makes 30 stars, gives crit up, anti-giant damage, and it's just, I've noticed when they do those waves, what they like to do is they like to make a really tough enemy in the middle wave, to try to bait you into using your stuff to not have it for the final wave. So they like to use Spriggans and Dragons and 7-month dragons and like the big Oni in this one. They do that a lot, and those are giant. And then Arthur, almost said Waver for some reason, gets his, you know, giant ass bonus, so he doesn't have to counterclass to wreck him. All right, let's. So this is gonna be so easy for Arthur, because normally the first health bar is tanky enough if you're an AoE unit and you don't have a niche. If you do not have a niche, that you kind of want to use your damage up skill to just quickly break it, and you have to, like, use some of your damage up on the 1 health bar and then save some for the next health bar. But because Arthur's Buster Up lasts 3 turns now, you don't give a fuck, and you just use his Buster Up on the first health bar, and you'll probably still have it for the next health bar. And there you go. It's a nice hand. Somebody remind me to yeet the app because we're definitely going to win here. And the only way I see us losing here is if Lantoria not only crits but Buster crits just over and over and over, like every attack. No buffing, just every attack is Buster crit. That's the only way I see her winning this. And even then she might actually lose. She'd have to kill me this turn, I think, if she wanted to win. Now the question is, can I be greedy and can I do art here? I definitely can if I do my second skill. Yeah, I don't think she actually would not win. If she double quick charged NP, she wouldn't win. She would not do 15k. She'd need to NP after hitting me some. And if she double quick charged, she can't hit me because her turn's over. So yeah, that wouldn't work. Now doing it next turn could work. That's what she wants to do this turn, is like Buster crit me this turn and then quick charge next turn. That way she still has an action left over and then I'm already low in health. Like that's how you do it. Yeah, we'll do Doorman next. I'm trying to think though if I use my second skill and I try to do an art crit shtick here, just to go around like the loop really fast. The other thing is we just Buster Chain because we know that will break. That's gonna be overkill. Like that's definitely gonna be overkill. Let's science. Let's see if we're gonna be so greedy right now. I'm so confident in our win. I'm not even going to use our second skill. This may be a bad move right here, but we'll see. I think even if we fail to break here because I'm being so greedy, I think it's okay. Because I could just gust next turn and add in the overkill for breaking the health bar next. You know, we got it. If anything, it might have been a good thing. And we crit anyway, lol. But yeah, if we hadn't broken there, it kind of could have been a good thing because I could have used it for overkill and then NP'd next turn, and I would have got. Oh shit, she's being up. She did Buster crit. That was the right call, but yeah, she's so dead right now. She may have a lot of health, but and there's not even RNG. Look at this. We make over 50 stars. We got 59 stars. We have double Buster up. We have crit up. We have, we get another turn. We get to hit her again next turn. So yeah, I'm ready to zeet the app. Thank you for reminding me. You can never remind me enough, honestly. The scariest thing was when you can Alt F4 in Samsung Dex to close the app, which is nice. But one time I Alt F4'd, instead of Alt F4'ing the app, it Alt F4'd Twitch, which means I hadn't closed the app yet. And then Twitch was gone, so that was the thing. Upgraded NP would be so nice though. You're like 120k on that or something. Woo! Look at that, 142. Not even a giant enemy. There's just self buffs right there, and the Mystic Code, but Mystic Code's almost self buffs. And yeah, if they're giant, you get 100% more beyond that. So yeah, giants get super fucked. But yeah, his normal card damage is no joke, man. And it's reliable. That's the best thing, is it's reliable, because he makes 30 stars, and then his crit up lingers too, and his Buster up lingers, so it's very, very easy to get, like, no matter how the deck shuffles with Arthur, if you got a team for him, it's so easy. You're gonna get big NP damage, you're gonna have your Buster up for your NP, and you're gonna have your Buster up and your crit up for your crit. Right? Because both of those buffs linger, even if the Buster cards aren't with the NP, you're gonna get a big crit and you're gonna get a big NP. So it's quite nice. But yeah, I wanted to have a buffed NP just because it's thematic and it fits, and then he will be better, so. Because for having an AoE Buster non-upgraded NP, he actually hits pretty hard with it. But it'd be nice if he could get it upgraded, because then he'd hit really hard with it, so. Okay, it's doorman time. Soldier can do it though. If I give her command codes, she can do it. It'll be more RNG than Arthur. Arthur had no RNG there, 0. Like no matter what happened, even if we didn't kill there, everything, right? If we didn't break that one turn, we still had the guts buffer. 0 RNG in Arthur doing that as long as you play it correctly. Saber Alter can do it too, though. You just need to get a little lucky. Now, if my Saber Alter was upgraded more, right? If she was maybe graded to 90 and she was in P3, because Arthur's 90 and in P3. Right, so if she was those things and I gave her command codes, I don't know if I would say she could do it without any RNG, but she could probably do it with very little RNG and she'd have like a 95% win rate or something. At least 90. So, yeah, I mean, Buster Sabers just have a really easy time with that fight, I would say. I think you said extra slot, not all slot. Well, we got 2 to pick from here. So, you know what's funny, chat? Guess which one of these is stronger between these two right now? The top or the bottom? So top or bottom? Which one do you think is stronger? Yep, yeah, it's the bottom one. We're not going to use the bottom one, but yeah, the bottom one is stronger. Even though the top one has higher skill ranks and is higher level, the bottom one is definitely better because the Yang CE. And we have a burn command code. We have 2 burn command codes. Yeah, that one is definitely the stronger one. But we'll try it with the more normal one, if you will. See, command codes, I've seen people say, but command codes are a limited time thing, right? But you're okay with using those. But see, command codes are free. Yes, you have to be playing at a certain time to get command codes, but they're just free. Everyone gets them. The Yang CE and Poster Girl and stuff, those things are limited time and are not free, right? So, really different situation there. And there normally are stand-in command codes too. There are a lot of comparable command codes that are similar to each other. So, I'm not sure what Mystic Code to go with here. So, his best is Atlas. And normally Atlas doesn't work here because of the needing guts, but he has his own guts. The question is, can I get it off twice? I don't know how long cooldown. Well, it's okay. We'll go Atlas. We'll see how that works. Look at that 17,000 attack though. Damn, dude, that's an upgraded unit right there. There's a plane flying over my house right now, and it's kind of low to the ground because there's an airport somewhat near where I live, so that was annoying. Alright, I gotta think. It's very important that we cast our guts at the right time. Not this turn. Maybe next turn, though. I don't think I cast anything this turn. Love those green particle effects, though. I'm so glad, though, I don't live in a world where I have to explain why I don't mind that we have oversized weapons in fantasy games and stuff. Thankfully, most people are okay with that. That'd be so annoying if they weren't, because they're everywhere. So that would be really annoying. I enjoy when games and stuff actually do have historically accurate, weaponry and whatnot. But my God, like oversized weapons are such a common thing, and they don't bother me. They really don't, right? They're not always my cup of tea. I normally do prefer more realistic looking weapons, but it doesn't bother me. It really, why? It's just silly. But thankfully, most people don't realize just how impractical, I think a lot of weaponry in video games and anime and movies and stuff is. That voice line, though. Let's
「
Yeah, another thing, having nails like that, not very practical either, and you're obviously not using them for fighting, but, you know, it's fancy. Now, not subjectively not liking them, though, you know, that goes for anything. But yeah, I don't like, yeah, you know, a lot of people, like Ari was saying, she doesn't like the way helmets generally look. That's fine, you know, obviously a helmet's very practical, but if you just don't like them, that's totally fine. And not liking Doorman's nails is probably, normal at this point. They are kind of creepy, but they're supposed to be, so... I probably should have cast Guts last turn. I think I messed that up. Can I get... Okay, I probably can get my NP without using my third skill, but I'm gonna use it so I don't need to do a combo that's good for NP. Oh, right, he's 80%. Excuse me. I thought he was 50% for a second there. That is not accurate. I'm just gonna NP again, thanks. Yeah, guard, yeah. What are you gonna do? Not getting the best luck here, but... We're not screwed if Guts goes off next turn because he has double Guts, but I would definitely prefer that not happen. This is a tricky turn. Thought about doing art so I could NP again. The thing that's gonna get him is just gonna take him to... This is so much harder at neutral, by the way, because you die faster and you have twice as much to get through. Like, you die faster, not necessarily twice as fast because the way survival skills work, but you die faster, and then you have twice as much to get through, right? So it's pretty tough. Oh god, that's right, she clears debuffs. That's not good for him. That is really not good for him. He is not, Man, I should have cast Guts sooner. I messed it up. Timing was wrong. Because she quick charged up. But if she hadn't quick charged, actually I would have been correct. But yeah, he's gonna be like one off. But here's the thing. This really is a good showing. It's actually a very good showing because one, I messed up, and you could see that we could go a lot longer. But I gotta remind everyone, he's an AoE unit that is for you know, not night classes. So like, imagine if we were fighting 3 enemies, so they're gonna have less health, and then they were, you know, cavalry classes, so we were doing normal damage to them, right? Like, his value can just be disgusting. I mean, the fact that he's actually getting this far is nonsense, right? Because this is a single target fight, and it's a Lancer, for God's sakes, right? So it's like, this really is insane. And yeah, if I had cast Guts 1 turn sooner, we could live for 2 more turns, at least. So we could attack 3 more times. If she didn't remove debuffs, we actually would be getting some very noticeable damage out of our dots. Like, not mean damage, it'd be, you know, a nice practical extra chunk of damage, and it'd be like having an extra normal attack, if not more than that. Unfortunately, she cleared debuffs, and yeah. So yeah, if I cast Guts 1 turn sooner, we could have we could have attacked 3 more times. 3 more times, man, and that's several more NPs and everything else. What a shame. We also could have gotten our other skills back, so... Man, that is ridiculous. It's a fucking Lancer, man. He's doing half damage, for God's sake. So she has 4 times the health is like what we were dealing with. I like how now the stun went off, by the way. That was, That was great. But let's try to get our guts at the right time, and then see if we can get our skills back, like loop back around. Okay. Probably cast Guts next turn. So he cuts the paper there. He cuts it with his nails, by the way. Just imagine that. You know, cutting through paper with your nails, like a great sensation. That nothing creepy here. Do I NP even though I can't quick chain? The bad time for our crit buff. But if this 60% crits, it'll be fine. Damn it! 40%, why? So I think the people that like him like the fact that so many people don't like him. I'm serious. I really think the people that really like him like enjoy the well, the people like I don't like him and he's so creepy. Like I think they enjoy that, especially the creepy puppets. That many debuffs, something is probably gonna get guarded. Arjuna's not creepy though. Look at this MP, man. I bet you DW is surprised though at how popular he was. Like, you know, they were putting a decent amount of work into him and stuff, so they obviously wanted him to be popular, but I don't think they thought he was going to be as popular as he turned out to be. Okay, I like that stun. I feel like if I don't use... Because she's not going to attack, I think I need my quick cards. I hate not making stars, but I want to make sure I can MP again. I wanted that to crit because we have our crit buff. Much of. Okay, we're looking good, looking good. Now that is some limbo music. Big part of why people don't like Arjuna is because he doesn't like Karna and he screwed over Karna, right? And people are Karna is so popular, and I do get that because I felt that way to a degree for a while, but I've grown to like Arjuna anyway. I appreciate the asshole, you know. Oh, it's the music looping. Dude, it's just doing that so much now. It's like broken again, like back in the day. Here, we'll mix it up. This is not dormant. This turn sucks. Why couldn't we have broken there? Fucking fuck. Well, at least I can make a lot of NP gain. Yeah, dots take to 1. They can't break. 22k there though. Dude, this is against a Lancer. Like a fucking Lancer. That's wild, dude. And he's AoE. We are literally fighting one of the worst classes we could possibly be fighting. And it's a single target fight and we're using an AoE unit and he's doing this well. Like what a strong lad. Good, good. Liking these stuns. Dude. What the hell, man? Yeah, dots are starting to put in some work here. Damn, wanted the crit? Is there a world where I can NP again? Let's go for it. Let's see if we get that. We need that. We need double art crit. 60%. Yes. Oh my god, is he gonna win? It's go I don't think he's gonna be just shy. That is nonsense though. Yeah, I ordered a new graphics card. It's gonna be a while though before it gets here. So I got invulnerability. Shame we don't have a second curse command code. That would really have added up here. This is probably video worth if he's able to beat this. I mean, it's a Lancer. It's a goddamn Lancer. Like, what the hell? No! All our dreams. All of our dreams. We could have won there. That would have done like quite a bit. Oh my god. She destroyed us, dude. Yeah, with our crit damage and the dot damage, we might have been. We would have doubled down, I guess, if the dots had killed there, though. Let's see how close we would have gotten. I think it's just out of his range. Yeah, he was so close, dude. Yeah, that's not. She's not quite low enough. She's not quite low enough. She would have died from dots. But it'd have been close. It'd have been close. I would have posted a double down video. That'd have been fun. Jesus, that is wild, man. The question is, can that be optimized with like different command codes and maybe a different CE and things like that? Is there a way to get more value out of it? That's a very good CE, but I wonder if there is a way that we could get, because we don't need that much more value to win. We only need a bit more. So with twinking the command codes and stuff, it might be possible. Yeah, I think you'd win with Yang CE, but I don't want to win with that. That kind of cheapens it. Like, especially because it looks doable without it, right? If it's doable without it, of course I want to do it without it. Yeah, there's anti-dragon command codes. There's stuff like that. It's a matter of who, where. Thankfully, we have this stage forever. I'm gonna revisit this for sure, like on and off stream. I want to figure that out. That would make a good video. That would make a good video. That was surprising though. I will say though, there is definitely a degree of RNG with her removing the debuffs at a really bad time. That can really screw you over in the debuff clear. He does have skill seal though, so he can limit the amount that you can do it, which is why he was able to do as well as he did. But that is a problem. That is definitely a problem, because that's like at least a 2-turn variance that's decided by RNG, and you don't want that, right? Now if you can beat If you can beat the stage with a 3-turn wiggle room, then you don't care. But we can't. That's the thing. There's a lot of fights like that where the RNG starts to match. RNG always dictates a few turns here or there, but that's an extra like turn or two that you don't want to have to be up in the air. All right, I should probably wrap up there though. It's getting late, and I need to eat and all that stuff. But that was fun. I was surprised. I gotta say, I was very surprised by that. I was expecting him to do decent because I'm aware of how good he is. I was not expecting that, especially the fact that I think now it might be in striking distance of him. So I'm like, what the hell is? Like, that is truly surprising. Because that's, I mean, God, that is such. It's not just that she's a Lancer. That's obviously unbelievably bad. But it's a single target fight. It's a single target fight, and she's like Lancer. Like, that's so bad for him. That's absolutely wild. That's scary to think about what he'll be able to accomplish in some challenge quests and in actual AoE situations against things that aren't knight classes, like when you are fighting a lot of cavalry classes. That is absolutely scary to think about. Yeah, thank you for hanging out, everybody. I tell you, I've been in the mood to play Ninja Gaiden again, but I haven't been doing it because it got announced to be added on, on PC. It's getting like a remaster and all that. It's not really a remaster, but a minor facelift. Anyway, so I'll obviously stream it when that comes out. But yeah, I've been wanting to do bonus streams for Ninja Gaiden, but I feel like I should wait. But I gotta, maybe Darkest Dungeon. I need to get on that. I've been wanting to try that. So anyway, lads, let's raid somebody who is about. By the way, I should show this off just for comparison and just big numbers. Regular Artoria now can really fuck up that stage. Obviously, most AoE, most sabers can, but yeah, Artoria can do it in flying colors too because she also just has so much damage. Like, God, the NP up, attack up, buster up, that's upgraded NP, that's a lot. Who would happen to have a big Saba? I know, right? Yeah, we'll do that at some point. Alright, everybody on my list here is not playing Fgo, feels bad. God, the music is looping so much, it's so broken! Playlist, please! Anyway, I can't vouch for the quality of any of these streams. I don't recognize any of these people, but we will raid one at random here. I gotta make sure I'm raiding one that speaks English. That's the important part. Why do I see Izo standing behind Zig right now? That was an interesting sight. All right, lads. I will see you later.